Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. Let's get after it. We got a whole 4 hours planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now, coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson. I want to get your calls on this. How do you feel? Dan Bongino serving as the assistant FBI director. It just gets better. Wait till I read some of these tweets coming. But Deputy Director of the FBI now, Dan Bongino. Jason Crow having a heart attack about that. We're going to talk about that coming up here in a second. Also, when I was at CPAC, and this is important, guys, I noticed there were new ideas floated out there. And sometimes a new idea starts small, and all it takes is a little spark. It grows bigger, bigger, bigger. Steve Bannon from the main stage talking about a third term for Donald Trump. Then some dudes hosting a press conference about a third term for Donald Trump. It would require amending the Constitution, but the idea is starting to percolate. Would you support that? We're going to get into Zelensky, what's happening with France, Russia, Ukraine, what happened at the United Nations, what was this vote all about Ukraine? We'll be discussing that as well. And then Billy and I tomorrow hosting a gathering at the IHOP, a live broadcast at the IHOP.
Yeah, tomorrow. We're going to be live at IHOP Greenwood Village tomorrow. And for $7.10, we'll hook you up with, they will hook you up with the pancake combo, which is 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, bacon or sausage, and then hash browns. Or you can do it like you did when you were a kid and get their big stack of pancakes. So that, choose strawberry cheesecake, double berry, chocolate strawberry, Cinestack, tres leche, chocolate chip, the strawberry banana. So any of those, do it like you did when you were a kid, because, mom's not there and we're going to tell on you. So, yeah, whatever you want, but it's $7.10. We're going to be at the Greenwood Village IHOP. It's basically I-25 and Arapahoe Road. If you go a little east on Arapahoe, you'll run into Clinton Street. Go south on Clinton, take Clinton, and you'll run into the IHOP. It's on the right-hand side of the road. So, yeah, we are a little bit south of Arapahoe Road and I-25 on Clinton Street. We'll be there from 6 until 10. Come on out, see the gang, say hello. Even an appearance by Jeff Hildebrandt, the cowboy poet. Yeah, it's going to be there. Absolutely. And Mike Boyle is joining us as well. He is flying back from Mexico. We'll check in with Mike later on today, but he is taking a trip back from Mexico to visit with you at the IHOP. That's how important this is to him. So this is going to be really cool. We hope to see everybody tomorrow.
And we've got some news of folks that will be joining us tomorrow.
Yes.
Darcy Showing is going to be joining us. She's running for state party chair, as well as Britta Horn. So two of the bigger candidates. And if there's other people running, because I'm not that deep into the weeds on like day-to-day party politics stuff, I don't know if somebody else announced. Maybe they have. If you have, swing on by. But they're going to come by to not only be interviewed, but to meet with folks. So you could meet the next future chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party.
This will be cool. Yeah. So hope to see everybody out there. And again, pancakes. What else do you have to say? Come on.
I'm like, political leaders are coming. Billy's like, pancakes are going to be
those hash browns. I love the IHOP hash browns. So I have to give me some of that.
So lots coming up this week. Stick with us throughout the entire show. But let's check in with Blake.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning, guys. 41 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 65 today. Yes, the 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, more information being released about the arrest of Broncos linebackers coach Michael Wilhoit. He allegedly punched an officer in the face at DIA. The officer reportedly sustained injuries to both knees and his jaw. Wilhoit was later arrested and facing a charge of second-degree assault on a peace officer. The Broncos spokesperson says that they are gathering more information. A man has been sentenced for the murder of a DPS employee in 23. That's when the murder occurred. 37-year-old Dante Ellis shot and killed Shayna Johnson. The DA's office said that Ellis was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Governor Polis has ordered flags to fly at half-staff today in honor of former state Republican state rep Rod Bockenfeld, who died from cancer on February 13th at the age of 69. He was from Watkins and represented District 56.
He was my rep. Great guy. Very sad.
Way too young.
Long battle with cancer, but still continued to show up and do his work to the very best of his ability and to the very end of his life. So,
Amen.
Good
Thanks
man.
for his service.
Absolutely.
ICE agents will, for now, be barred from targeting illegal immigrants in deportation stings in and around places of worship. Maryland U.S. District Judge Theodore Chang handed down the order on Monday, so there's going to be a lot more people going to church this week. DJT.
I also like to point out, it sounds
Or
like a little
mass.
Christian nationalism. The idea that your faith is going to direct laws in this country. I thought that we were all ridiculed over the idea that our faith and values would direct our laws. That's just Christian nationalism, separation of church and state.
What about separation of church and state?
Now
the first thing
we
I
want to
heard.
protect the churches specifically from laws, I guess.
Absolutely. They're our friend now. All those great Catholic churches, Lutheran churches, Methodist churches all around the city and state.
So there's a Venn diagram, and it's near a total overlap, okay, between churches that are going to have LGBTQ flags inside and, trans ceremonies and all that stuff, and churches that are going to protect illegal immigrants. And you know there's going to be an illegal immigrant family that's seeking refuge, right? They're going to be, goodness, we got to get away from Tom Homan and everybody. It's so scary, and they're going to run into one of those crazy progressive pastors,
the Rainbow
that's
Church.
wearing the makeup and all that stuff, and just go, nah, I'm gonna take my chances with Tom Homan. I'm getting out of here.
What are we doing? What did we get into?
Kids slowly back out of the church.
Yeah. That's right. That sounds like a win-win for everyone here. All right, DJT met with Frenchie Macron, speaking of weird people, Monday, discussed ending the war in Ukraine, talking with Zelensky.
I will be
or
meeting
about
with
Zelensky.
President Zelensky. In fact, he may come in this week or next week to sign the agreement, and which would be nice. I'd love to meet him. Would meet at the Oval Office. So the agreement's being worked on now. They're very close to a final deal. It'll be a deal with rare earths and various other things, and he would like to come, as I understand it, here to sign it, and that would be great with me. I think they then have to get it approved by their council or whoever might approve it, but I'm sure that will happen.
The U.S. Office of Personnel Management delivered new written guidance regarding emails to federal workers. OPM sent an email to government employees Saturday asking them once again to list 5 bullet points of what they accomplished last week.
What would you say you do here?
The new email says agencies should review responses and evaluate non-responses, including whether the employee was off work when the email was sent.
Did you
This
see
is
the
getting
Babylon
better and better.
every day? It's amazing. Did you see the
It is.
Babylon Bee headline? That said,
I saw that.
Donald Trump lost his job because he forgot to turn in his findings.
Oh, man. This is just, life is
I mean,
just
the memes are
incredible.
great on this. Like,
Yeah.
I retweeted one that was essentially the largest entrenched bureaucracy in world history, and then the Achilles heel. It was, so what did you do last week?
It's beautiful, man. It's day 36 today, and it feels like we've been doing this for like 10 years now.
Yes.
That's why you don't need it. You don't need a third term, man, because these 4 years, it's going to seem like 40 years.
That's exactly right.
Especially to Billy. An American teenager is in French custody after allegedly, this is just horrible, throwing her newborn baby out of a Paris hotel window to its death. My goodness. The woman, reported by local media to be 18 years old, was part of a group of young people traveling in Europe when the incident occurred early Monday. God, help us, God. Some members of the Denver City Council want to make new rules for those who rent and use e-bikes and scooters. Councilman Chris Hines says that vendors like Lime and Lyft need to do more to help keep users from riding the sidewalks. Amen to that. And abandoning scooters in places where they block access. Denver Health reported nearly 2,000 injuries from scooter-related accidents last year. And Hines says that more should be done to prevent those injuries. Hines plans to work with other council members to come up with a bill that could be voted on later this year. News brought to you by Lawfare Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at LawfareFireplacePatio.com. Nuggets over the Pacers last night, 125-116. It's 38 in Parker, 39 in Lafayette, 41 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
I just got done walking on the beach at Tulum, Mexico with my buddy Mike from Granelli's Pizza in Castle Rock. I'll have a nice dinner tonight, but then I'll get on a plane tomorrow and I'll fly back so I can be at the IHOP on Wednesday from 6 to 10 with my bros Jeff and Bill. How's that,
Mike?
for dedication?
That's goodness.
Sacrifice.
That's amazing, man. That is incredible.
All right, that's Manana tomorrow. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Sometimes there's headlines that come from the progressive media that just makes me love the decisions that Trump's doing even more. It's like, well, that sounds like a good decision. And then I watch how the progressives respond and I go, now I think that's a great decision. One of those is the appointment of Dan Bongino to Deputy Director of the FBI. Here's a headline out of the Huffington Post. We are so effed. Trump's bonkers FBI announcement has critics asking, WTF? President Donald Trump on Sunday left many observers baffled by naming former Secret Service agent and current right-wing podcast host Dan Bongino to be deputy director of the FBI. Trump called him a man of incredible love and passion for our country. In a post on his Truth Social website announcing the selection, which comes days after far-right conspiracy theorist Kash Patel was confirmed as FBI director. Bongino, 50, had a career in law enforcement before turning to politics. He's run for office before, but has ended up as a fixture in right-wing media, and at one point hosted a weekend show on Fox News. He is perhaps currently best known for his podcast, which is ranked 18th in the nation for weekly listeners for 2024, and for his trolling presence on social media. They write, "My life is all about owning the libs," he said in 2018 during the contentious nomination hearings for Supreme Court Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. His elevation to a leading position within the FBI drew harsh reviews from critics on social media. By the way, this must be a HuffPo requirement. All of the posts are coming from Blue Sky. Blue Sky? I haven't signed up for Blue Sky. I have no interest in being on Blue Sky, but I guess that's where all the progressives have gone. Here's Helen Kennedy on Blue Sky. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are running the FBI. BRB, I've got to go screaming like a banshee into the night. Here's another one. Every time I think it can't get worse, this is Mehdi Hassan. Every time I think it can't get worse, every time I think it can't get worse, the appointees can't get worse. Trump says, hold my beer. I'm stunned, even by Trump standards, that Dan Bongino, a man even Fox got rid of, is now deputy director of the FBI. We are so effed. Christopher Webb, we're cooked. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi running justice is like putting arsonists in charge of the fire department. Bongino is a conspiracy hack. Patel's a Trump flunky and a conspiracy hack. And Bondi sold out Florida for a check. This isn't law and order. It's a MAGA police state. Shannon Watts. You know Shannon. She's from Colorado. She lived here in Denver for a little while. America, I present to you the new deputy director of the FBI. And then he posts a comment of Dan Bongino calling Shannon Watts an intellectual vacuum. I'm dumber for even knowing you. Denver Riggleman. Every country in the world, expect Russia, China, and North Korea, see the U.S. as an adversary with Trump and MAGA in power. We are a violent idiocracy. And Dan Bongino, as deputy director of the FBI, we are a global joke. Now, I don't know Dan Bongino, never brought him to the Western Conservative Summit. Saw his career out there. Never had really any big problems with it. He served for 16 years with distinction with the New York City Police Department, then with the United States Secret Service, even rising to the level of protecting the president, being on protective duty for Barack Obama, and even training those in the United States Secret Service. So he has a great 16-year distinguished career as a strong, powerful, conservative voice. Didn't see any problem with it. And just kind of went, oh, interesting. Dan Bongino, appointed deputy director of the FBI. But the response from the left makes me think it's a brilliant decision. Bill, how do you feel that the deputy director of the FBI is Dan Bongino?
Well, I mean, again, if that's what you want, go right ahead. But I thought we were doing this thing based on the merit. And we're
Meritocracy, not. 16 years.
Yeah. So you're telling me that if we asked for people's resumes to run as the assistant director of the FBI, this would be the one at the top of the list? No.
I could put him up there.
No. He would make the top 10. He would make the top 10 based on other people. But that's okay. It's we have this false illusion of meritocracy that is happening inside of the cabinet. But he can pick whoever he wants. Go right ahead. But don't pretend that they're going out there and they're finding people based on meritocracy. These people wouldn't. Vast majority of them, a lot of them.
You wouldn't consider his commitment to advancing conservative principles and rooting out corruption within the FBI part of the formula of meritocracy?
No, because you know what I could do? I could find other talk show hosts. I could probably find other weekend hosts on Fox. I can find people on OAN that would spout the same thing. My commitment to, ability to do the job. That's the idea. He doesn't have any of the commensurate experience. It would be like putting me as the assistant director of the FBI. That would be phenomenally stupid. Anybody can nominate me for it, but it would be a really, really, really dumb move because I don't have the experience or the ability. That's fine, and I can admit that. Dan Bongino can't, but that's okay. He's going to like it. He's going to get it, and it's going to be great. He can go and troll all the libs and do all that stuff, and wow, it's great. Remember now, we have two people at the top of the FBI that are such fantastic, top-notch sleuths and investigators, and they can find a crime, and they know it when they see it, and they can go after it because they both were convinced the 2020 election was stolen. Let's see what happens with that one. Let's just see. Let's just see how these sleuths do in this job. They really think the 2020 election was stolen? They got all the information. The FBI was supposed to be part of the inside deep staters that were doing this. Show up with it. Show up with it. Are they going to talk about it at all? Are they going to talk either one of them? Are they going to talk about getting to the bottom of the stolen 2020 election? Are they going to talk about that at all? These are guys that, through all of their prowess of sifting through the facts and things, they still decided the 2020 election was stolen. Nice job. I'm certain there are a whole bunch of people out there doing crimes going, this is going to be a little bit easier because these guys obviously can't find their rear end with a map. So again, that's what you want. Go right ahead. But let's not pretend this is meritocracy. This is based on MAGA, just
I
like you said.
totally think it is. I think it's based on meritocracy, and I think it's about driving clarity and rooting out corruption. I think it was a fantastic pick. And again, I'll say this. You have 16 years of a distinguished career, NYPD, Secret Service, protecting Barack Obama. He was at the top. He was training Secret Service agents. He's got a great career in law enforcement, and now he's spent the last part of a decade working to root out the corruption in our country, promoted by the radical left, and that had taken hold within the FBI, and he's going to work on it.
Yep,
and I'm excited to see that.
He's so good at rooting out that corruption. He was convinced the 2020 election was stolen.
The FBI was convinced that Catholics were a threat to our country.
How? What way?
You don't remember this?
No, what was it? I'm just curious. What are you referencing?
They went out there and said that the conservative Catholics were domestic terrorists, and they started spying on them.
There's a lot more context that goes into that, but that's okay. They didn't just say, hey, all Catholics.
Yeah, they didn't say all Catholics, but they thought that some Catholics were a threat to the country.
Yeah.
Catholics.
Yeah, there are some people, just like we have. Remember the whole thing about parents? Oh my gosh, they were investigating parents and went to school board meetings.
Right,
no,
and we're writing down license plate numbers.
They were investigating parents that made threats against school board members. That's what they were doing.
Oh, it was broader than that. It was way broader.
That's what they did.
That.
No, that's what they were investigating.
Yes.
People that made threats. They weren't just investigating you because you showed up at a meeting. And again, if they were,
I guarantee you got your name on a list because you went to a meeting.
Depends on what you said at the meeting and how aggressive you were. If you said
it. Those FBI guys had names just because you showed up and put your name on a little speaker list.
Tell you what. Guess what? Kash, Patel, and Dan Bongino can show us that.
They can.
They
absolutely.
Sure can. Let's hold our breath and see if that happens.
They're going to root it out.
Because okay. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens because they were such great investigators. They came to the conclusion the 2020 election was stolen. Good job, men. Let's see how well this works. You want people that can't figure it out? Put them in charge? Go right ahead. This will end well. Nicely done.
All right. Join the conversation. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino. How do you feel about that level of leadership? Do you agree with what Trump's doing? Do you sleep better at night as a result of it? I do. And when I see the left absolutely lose their mind over these picks, like I'm going screaming like a banshee into the night, makes me feel even better. Or do you agree with what Bill said, which was, these guys got 2020 wrong. We can't trust them on other things. Join the conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. That's 720-819-5115. Those phone calls come right in to the studio here. I want to talk to you about something that Billy and I agree on, which is Dan Caplis. Dan would be good at the head of the FBI. He'd be good at that. He'd be good at pretty much anything. I'd love to see him in statewide leadership here in the state of Colorado. I've known Dan Caplis for well over a decade. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan, the son of a police officer, a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is also believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's a real winner. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. He accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Convince me they're qualified. 303-696-1971. Can you do it?
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
A federal judge in Maryland has issued a ruling blocking DOJ from accessing student loan systems at the Department of Education, while also blocking access to a broader set of personnel files at the Office of Personnel Management. Judge Deborah Boardman, who was appointed by Joe Biden, said allowing DOJ access would amount to privacy violations. The order was made after a coalition of labor unions sued DOJ earlier this month, trying to block Musk from conducting audits at the DOE, the Treasury, and the OPM. Boardman has also issued rulings blocking President Donald Trump's executive order on birthright citizenship and banning DOJ from reviewing government contracts. Boardman said federal privacy laws restrict what agencies can do with personal identifying information. However, the administration pointed to the law's, quote, need-to-know exception. DOJ asserts that it needs to know the information in order to carry out President Donald Trump's directive to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. President Donald Trump is backing Elon Musk when it comes to his demand that federal employees explain what they did last week or risk getting fired. Watch.
We have people that don't show up to work, and nobody even knows if they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, because a lot of people are not answering because they don't even exist. They're trying to find, that's how badly various parts of our government were run by, and especially by this last group. So what they're doing is they're trying to find out who's working for the government. Are we paying other people that aren't working? And, you know, where's all this? Where's the money gone? We have found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud so far, and we've just started. So I think it was actually, there was a lot of genius in sending it. We're trying to find out if people are working. And so we're sending a letter to people, please tell us what you did last week.
Governor Greg Abbott is speaking out after a report that an entire city is being constructed in Texas that would be ruled by Sharia law. The governor taking to X saying, to be clear, Sharia law is not allowed in Texas, nor are Sharia cities, nor are no-go zones, which this project seems to imply. Bottom line, he said, the project as proposed in the video is not allowed in Texas. Governor Abbott's remarks come after a video was circulated on social media showing the plans for a 402-acre city that would allegedly be ruled by Sharia law. The community is called Epic Ranches, and it will feature a mega mosque and Islamic school, parks for mass prayer gatherings, and a community centered around Islam.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
messages are hot on this one. Let's start with 5600. What do you think of the appointment of Dan Bongino to Deputy Director of FBI? Kash, Patel, Pam Bondi, the whole crew put together there. I love it. I never really knew Dan. I knew he had a storied career in the military in NYPD. 16 years, NYPD, Secret Service, protected the president, trained Secret Service. Great, 16 years. That's fantastic. But when I saw the progressives lose their mind on this, including good friend of the show, Jason Crow, makes me love the pick even more. And Terry in Texas pointing that out. I will give Patel and Bongino a fair chance, but the fact that the phrase owning the libs is a consideration and people like Jeff and Blake liking them being appointed should show how immature and stupid this has all become. It's Trump derangement syndrome, simplex 2. Any dumb, sarcastic, childish thing President Trump or his people say or do is okay because har, look at the liberal tears. This is beyond sad, and many should be ashamed at their lack of maturity and ability to think. Interesting point. But when I see those that utilize the FBI as a political weapon to pursue conservative Catholics, to go after parents and school boards, to use thousands of FBI agents to prosecute every little grandma that walked into the Capitol, I see an abuse of the intent and purpose of the FBI. And when those same people are pulling their hair out, going, oh no, the FBI is not going to be used properly under Dan Bongino. Yeah, sorry, you lost that under the last 4 years, and it is confirmed by how much you all are freaking out. That's how I see it.
So the solution is to bring somebody in that has an enemies list in the back of his book. That's the way to root out the corruption and to get rid of the weaponization and
got a list to go after.
Get a guy, without proof, he just decided those are the enemies. That's great. Again,
no, it's not without proof. I think he has proof. He wrote a whole book about it.
Oh, yeah, just like he thing about their election stuff too. Yeah, good job. Yeah, he's got a lot of proof there. Yeah, he's done a great job with that. He wrote a bunch of children's books too about it, but that's okay. Hasn't been able to prove anything. But again, he's now head of the FBI. Let's see if he can prove it. Let him prove it.
Bill, I will give you that. He's got to deliver.
Yep.
He's got to deliver. 5600, the Dan Bongino show was great. It's everything that Billy could never be. He actually told the truth about exposed corruption. The FBI will never be the same. He and I are peas in an ideological pod.
Yep, that whole
Dan's hire is definitely meritocracy. He's a qualified conservative MAGA law enforcement officer. Listening to you, Bill's the same as listening to MSNBC.
Wish I had the paycheck. Well, some of them don't have the paycheck anymore. Wish I had that. But the idea, and again, I understand the idea that he's this and the hard fighter and everything else, but come back to the idea of 2020. He was convinced and told you and other people that it was stolen. Hasn't provided any proof. Said it was stolen. And yet you're giving him all this credit, seriously, over and over and over again, that he's actually some sort of honest actor after he sat there and lied to you for years. And I understand you may have a different opinion about whether or not he lied to you. Let's see if he proves it. He's now in an institution that will allow him to present all of the information he says is there about the steal. Let's see if it happens. And if it doesn't, I think you know exactly the conclusion. Because if he wanted to come out and prove that he was right and he wanted to dance and he wanted to own the libs, because remember, that was the criticism. He's a dude that likes to own the libs. There are text messages out there and stuff in social media where he likes to own libs. He uses naughty words to own the libs.
He does.
Yes.
In fact, this is what Jason Crow pointed out yesterday. Yeah. Trump's new FBI deputy director. Everyone stand up, get loud. Tell everyone you know we won't sit and watch our country be taken hostage. The winds are changing, Jason Crow posts. And then this is the tweet that he references from Dan Bongino.
Yeah, this is where he goes all like, he begins to Hulk out. Bongino's like,
the irony about this for the scumbag commie libs is that the cold civil war they're pushing for will really end badly for them. Libs are the biggest, can't say the word, I've ever seen. And they use others to do their dirty work. Their mamas are still doing their laundry for them as they celebrate tonight that their long-sought goal, the destruction of the republic, has been reached. But they're not ready for what comes next. They never have been. It's all revolutionary cosplay with them. Not anymore, as it's all real now. You a-holes wanted it, and now you've got it. Good luck. This was on May 30th.
And he rips his shirt off and flexes. And then the
Take
song
on the
from,
libs.
and
Take
the
on the
song
deep
from Hulk
state.
Hogan, Real American Hero, clears up behind him. And
Well, to
yes.
Breadman's point, the unitary has done us dirty. Burn it all down.
Yeah. So I understand the idea of the people that are the revolution and everything else, and then we're gonna hand a whole bunch of the power to tear things down to Elon Musk, regardless of Congress, because we can't move the direction we want to through Congress. So we're just gonna do it through executive order, and because we feel like it. So those are the people that are talking about, yes, tearing down the republic. But again, Dan has all the power, and this is and then again, Jason Crow's line of attack is stupid, absolutely freaking moronic, absolutely dumb. Sit there,
Stand up, get loud,
stand
and tell
up, 'cause
everyone.
This is what he said.
No.
No. Call him on his BS. Come on, Dan. Prove the election was stolen. You now have all the power. That's how you do it. Call him on his BS. Don't worry about the stuff he says, the stupid wrestling promos that he puts on social media. That's fine. I can pull those off too. No. Hold him to account for what he said occurred. Okay, Dan, prove it. Prove it. You've got all the power to investigate, all the power to drop the proof on the table about what you said over and over and over again on your show and in interviews. 2020 election is stolen. Prove it. You said the deep state was the one that kept Donald Trump out of power. Kash Patel was saying that as well on stage, in books, in public, and on podcasts. You are now both in the FBI. Prove it.
Bill, I could say there's already been a lot proven, but we can
Like
get into that in
what?
a different conversation. Peter Strzok. All right, Jay from
He didn't steal
Louisville.
anything.
Dude, he was
didn't steal
actively
anything.
working to try to prevent Donald Trump from getting
Peter
a second term.
Strzok didn't steal the 2020 election for
He
Donald
was
Trump.
actively where he was part of the corruption of
Did-
the deep state. You
did
just
Peter
said
Strzok-
you just said point out the deep state was actively working against Donald Trump.
You got two people.
I got
Who else?
But yeah,
Who else?
I point out that you're
Who
like,
else?
oh, it's not enough.
No. Deep state has to be more than two people.
It's because
what else you got?
Maybe some of the other people
What
aren't
else you got?
smart enough to
No,
text
we-
their lovers.
We
about
had
it.
we had a 6-year investigation to go after the deep state that tried to take down Donald Trump, and we got nothing. I need more than two names.
Is not true.
I need more than
You
two
have
names for a
51
deep state.
intelligence officers that were actively working in the 2020 election to keep Donald Trump from getting in office, including
That's-
former directors of the CIA.
No,
All right.
that's not true.
Jay from Louisville. I went to law school. I want to work for the FBI. Now I'm glad I did. Oh, when I went to law school, I wanted to work for the FBI. Now I'm glad I didn't work out. Kash and Bongino are jokes, says Jay from Louisville. Suzanne, I don't know if these two are competent. Well, I do, but that's another subject. But he certainly picked the ugliest two.
Oh, geez.
Suzanne.
Wow, Suzanne.
Suzanne bringing heat
That's
in this
unexpected.
hour.
Given all the stuff that Suzanne said, that's unexpected.
You know,
That's a
Suzanne,
surprise.
that's not fair because Bill and I are not good looking either. We could easily fall
Yeah.
into the ugliest radio host in Colorado. At least I could. Bill's better looking. All right.
Oh,
0970. If we want to weed out corruption, let's start with the guy with our enemies list. Sounds like a lot of what Stalin did in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Terry in Texas. We must destroy the village to save it. Yeah, that always works out.
Oh, yeah. And that's what we're doing. We're destroying the village to save it. We're going through and we're burning everything down inside the government based on efficiency. And where's that efficiency working so far?
5907. Billy, come on, man. If you think 2020 was completely legit, you're as relevant as Joy Reid.
Yeah, you know what's not in that text? Proof. None.
It is interesting to me
again,
that you guys look at the massive increase in votes for Joe Biden in 20, the decrease in 16, the massive increase in 20, the decrease back in 2024, and you're like,
yeah.
Meh.
Well, here's the thing.
We just had more mail-in votes.
There aren't. Here's the thing. The vast majority of the population doesn't vote. So we know that already. That there are a lot of people out there that can vote that don't. So the idea that we had more people voting than were registered and stuff wasn't true. The other
But
part
I'm
is
not saying it's not
the other
more,
part
but
is
I'm going back to
200
the idea that I don't know what happened, but it smells like sulfur.
Here's the thing. That's fine. You can smell all you want, but you got to provide proof if you're going to convict somebody being the devil. And here's the idea. 250
Smell all
audits.
you want.
250 audits across the country. Not a single one showed anything hinky. We had 61 court cases. There was one that was a win.
Your faith in our election system is admirable, Bill.
It's not the faith in the election system. It's the faith in the proof. And that's the idea, is people went out and looked, and guess what they haven't proven? That it was stolen. Fox News wrote a check of almost $800 million because they couldn't prove anything. Fox News couldn't even walk into court and make the argument they were covering a legitimate news story, which would have provided them cover in part for the Dominion lawsuit. They couldn't even argue that the story was legit. They couldn't point to any possible proof. That's where it's not about faith, and it's not about the idea of faith in the election system. It's faith in proof. You want to say it existed? Prove it. That's all I'm asking for. And so far, we're 5 years later now, we got
there's
nothing.
Stuff that stinks, and I don't know what it is, but it stinks to me.
How come nobody brings it into court?
Well, and Bill, to your point, look, they've got a limited window to deliver.
Yep.
MAGA will start to turn if you don't see the Epstein list, if you don't see the Kennedy files, if you don't see the MLK files, if you don't see Robert F. Kennedy, if you don't start to see some rooting out of corruption.
How about the fraud?
It'll turn.
We haven't seen the fraud yet. We have no fraud. We can talk about all waste.
Yeah, I think
no fraud.
I think that's debatable.
No, the idea is it's not debatable because fraud is criminal. So you have to show fraud. You have to have something criminal. It can't be, I don't like
Bill,
that they have
there
funding
was
at this
under
program.
the Biden's own admitting they believe that I think roughly 10% of some of the spending happening was fraudulent.
Yeah, and they were and they fired all the inspector generals that were looking at fraud. They fired a dozen of them. Trump did, who were people that were responsible for looking into the fraud.
But to say there's
people
no
that had come
fraud.
back. No. What I said is Doge hasn't shown it. I didn't say it was fraud free. What I'm looking for is Doge is looking for the fraud.
Seems like
where is it?
A splitting of hairs there.
No, not at all. Doge said he was going to find the fraud. Where is it? We understand there's fraud there, and yes, there is some that is out there. Absolutely. Find it and bring it to the table, because so far Doge doesn't have a single fraudulent transaction that they can point to.
I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know about that. I mean, under the Biden's own, they were admitting that there's already fraud.
That's
out there.
fine.
Say there's not single amount of fraud.
What I'm saying is Doge's list doesn't show any fraud so far.
The one that's been created in the last 4 weeks.
Yes. Where's the fraud? Because we keep hearing about the fact they're rooting out the fraud and corruption and waste. I've seen disagreements on policies, which we can say could be waste. One party may view something that another party wants to do as waste. That's fine, and that's acceptable.
Yeah. I think that's splitting hairs, but join the conversation. You can hear the phone starting to light up, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law Text line, 720-819-5115. The original question, Dan Bongino, now appointed as Deputy Director of the FBI. Good? Bad? To me, I was went, yeah, that's nice. I've seen Dan in conservative circles. I like what he's done. Has a storied career. I like it. But when I saw you progressives lose your mind, that's when I went, oh, this might be a great selection. Join the conversation. Would love to hear from you. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill show. I was just commenting to Bill. I'm looking. We were having the same debate that CNN was having last night. This is where it happens, right here. Should Dan Bongino be deputy director of the FBI? Is he qualified to do so? Is he going to improve the FBI? What do you think of all that? We're going to get to the phone calls. Jack, stick around for us. We do have an open line, 303-696-1971. But it's that time of the morning that the people expect us to deliver, Bill.
Yes.
That's You Choose the News.
It is that time of the morning where we get to make questionable decisions. We have been left unsupervised for this hour because everybody in charge doesn't wake up for another 8 minutes, and we are going to take full advantage. This is America's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. I've scoured the interwebs for only moments this morning to find really dumb stories about us humans because we do some really stupid things. And then I give them even dumber headlines so we can play this fake radio news game show. Why? Again, we've outlined it. Nobody knows we're doing this. So this is just our little secret. So shh. Okay, here we go. Okay, the headlines today. And Blake Olson's joining us from the news department. Headlines are, number 1, 5 minutes equals 5 million. Headline number 2, that's Mrs. 13 Hotel to you. Headline number 3, emergency response canceled. And headline number 4, Smuggler's Blues. Mr. Hunt.
Let's start with the emergency response.
Yes, emergency response was canceled recently. Nova Scotia Royal Canadian Mounted Police responded to a man that was injured in a snowmobile accident. According to the news, he basically was driving down a snowy roadway when he struck a snowbank. Witnesses came upon him and rendered assistance. They called for help and they were providing first aid when he was there on the roadway, and just in the nick of time, here comes the fire truck to provide all the emergency help he needs, and that's not good. He was pronounced dead a short time later because the fire truck ran over him. Yes. The man that was injured in the snowmobile accident that hit the snowbank, and they were providing service to him on the roadway as the fire truck came up.
Would have been better if you didn't show up.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So, yes, he was killed by the emergency response. Well, I guess there's no more emergency. So far, they don't think that any alcohol or anything else was responsible for the fire truck driver. They are investigating, but still, that's an awkward performance review.
Yeah,
again,
I'd say so.
Still not an emergency anymore. So technically, do you stop the emergency? But maybe that's the way
you know it's bad when you made things worse.
Yes, exactly. You're like, okay, I guess we can turn the lights off. We don't need the woo 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 anymore. So yeah, okay, all right, Jeff. I'm sorry, Blake Olson. Your choice, sir. 5 minutes equals 5 million. That's Mrs. 13 Hotel to you or Smuggler's Blues.
5 minutes equals 5 million.
Yes.
What is it?
5 million. Yes, 5 minutes to make $5 million. That is going on in England right now. It is the trial of 2 men that are accused of stealing a solid gold toilet from Blenheim Palace. It was a raid that only took them 5 minutes in the early hours of 2019, September 14th to be exact. They broke into what was supposed to be an art exhibit and decided to take a lot of the expensive stuff, one of which was a $5 million solid gold toilet. It was an 18-karat, well, not solid, it was 18-karat gold toilet as part of an exhibition of an Italian conceptual artist at the time, and it was insured for $6 million, so they did get the money back. But, yeah, the thing is they never got the toilet back, though, because the thieves melted it down and cut it into smaller little bars and then sold off parts of it. So no
That's
more
amazing.
gold toilets.
How many deposits were made in that toilet?
Only 2. See, get that? See how I did that, too? See it like that? Okay. We're idiots. Okay, yeah. Jeff Hunt, final choice this morning, sir. That's Mrs. 13 Hotel to you or Smuggler's Blues?
Smuggler's Blues.
Yeah, Smuggler's Blues. You know, we've had former talk show host Stephen Tubbs on the show here talking about the problems of fentanyl smuggling and all the great things the DEA has been doing. But the DEA is now going to start having to look for something else that people are smuggling over the border. Yes. Since January, U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents have stopped at least 90 people smuggling eggs into our country from Mexico. Yes, Texas has issued 16 civil penalties totaling almost $4,000 so far, linked to the attempted smuggling of prohibited products such as raw eggs. It's illegal to bring fresh eggs, raw chicken, unprocessed avian products like live birds into the U.S., and travelers need to declare all the agricultural products they have with them, some of them not wanting to. I don't know where they're hiding the eggs. You can decide that yourself. Egg prices have risen, so yes, we're not now smuggling fentanyl, we're now smuggling eggs.
It is amazing to me that things we used to just throw at people's houses.
I know.
Like
Throw our
toilet
enemies.
paper and eggs.
I know.
Now commodities we
It's
all
ridiculous.
hoard.
All right, that's the end of it, man. Back to you.
We'll continue the conversation and debate about Dan Bongino. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
city on this Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. Let's kick it off. We got a whole hour planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this, unlike all those other monologue shows, is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So pick up the phone, give us a call, join the conversation. You don't like what we're saying? We want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of the debate. Phone line 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Here's what we're talking about this morning. Dan Bongino, the podcaster with a storied career, 16 years, NYPD, United States Secret Service, rises to the level of protecting the President of the United States, even training other Secret Service agents. He's got a master's degree. Well, that's not good enough for the left. He's not qualified. And in fact, not only do they disagree with him, they went apoplectic. That's not even the right word, but something like that on X yesterday, saying that the asteroid can't come fast enough with Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and now Dan Bongino. So, do you agree that this is a disaster for our country, that Dan Bongino is the deputy director of the FBI, or is this a good thing? Let's go to the phone lines. Let's check in with Jack in Wyoming. Good morning, Jack. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Let me drop back a little bit on your story about the stolen golden toilet in Italy. And they said they recovered the toilet and they got the one who stole it. Now, was the perpetrator who stole it, was it Adam Schiff by chance? I'm curious.
That's good. That's a nice one. Yes, he was a criminal mastermind. That's nice. Nicely done.
Yeah, okay, if you've got the time, I'm going to give you guys on the radio a little bit of a legal education, which it's going to take more than a minute. When you keep running out, and Peter Boyle, who I truly adore, and I've talked to him for 35 years, every one of you guys on the radio, there's no proof. There's no proof. Well, do you know what proof is? Proof is something that takes a year and a half after a procedure of filing a summons and complaint with the particulars in it in front of a court, and then following the rules of evidence that both the plaintiff and the defendant get to have represented by attorneys, that's ruled over by a judge and decides what is and what isn't admissible. And then with that information, it goes to the fact finder, who could either be the bench or they could be a jury panel. And not until those people make that decision, there is no proof. You think proof is dropped at your doorstep with a ribbon on it the first day that somebody has a complaint. It doesn't work like that. It takes at least 2 years to go through the courts.
No, that's not what I think.
It takes 2 years. Well, you're not entitled to proof up front. You have to go through a court process. You got to go through the rules of evidence. You don't get proof on day one. You get it on the last day. It's the last day is when you get proof. You don't get it on day one. Get that through your heads, please.
No, Jack. That's a little bit different, especially in defamation law, and as far as what happens there, because truth is an absolute defense inside of defamation law. And the one thing that Fox News did not argue in the Dominion case was that they were telling the truth. They never argued that the story about a stolen election, that they had a single shred of proof.
They did settle, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't get to court.
Wait, hang on. Wait, let me walk through this, and I'll tell you why. Yes, they settled because they got right up to having to get another round of disclosure, and what they had was nothing. They couldn't prove a stolen election.
Yeah, okay.
Fox News, hang on, Jack. Fox News never argued they were covering either a real news story or a stolen election. They never filed a single brief or a shred of evidence that showed anything that would come to a conclusion of a stolen election. In order to win the case inside of defamation law, they have to either show they didn't act with malice, they didn't act with a reckless disregard for the truth, or they were telling the truth. That is the three things they need to be able to do. They couldn't prove it was real. The next thing they couldn't do is show that they weren't acting with malice, and they were getting proven that they showed a reckless disregard for the truth because they had emails that had already been discovered during previous rounds of discovery that showed there were conversations inside of Fox that said these things aren't true. We're letting these guests on. I'm uncomfortable with putting these guests on because we can't verify there being truth. They have some of the producers are making fun of how wrong the guests are and the fact that they are lying. The issue is that if there was any proof at all, even before they get into court, if Fox News drops that on the table, the entire lawsuit goes away. The court's not going to waste time adjudicating a case that can be proven based on proof. So if you walk in there and you have a prima facie case, you drop the proof on the desk, your defamation lawsuit goes away. Fox News never argued truth, never argued that they had proof. That's it.
Okay, I understand absolutely everything you said, and I'm actually shocked that you understand all that, to be frank with you. And that's absolutely true. But what you're missing there is...
Appreciate the fact that you said I'm shocked about it. Thanks a lot. Nice backhanded compliment, but continue.
Okay, but...
Maybe sometimes I know a little bit more than you give me credit for, Jack. Maybe, but keep going.
No, I have a lot of fun with you, Billy. If I didn't have a lot of fun with you, I wouldn't talk to you.
I'm having fun with you, too.
Okay, but here's the point. What you're saying is, on the surface of it, to the average person would be obvious. But when you go into a settlement situation, you can't bring that back as proof legally. Settlements take place for 1 million different times. They might have settled because he was fooling around with the judge's wife. I mean, you don't know why they settled. A settlement is outside of the scope of continuing. It's the end. And why it's the end is not subject to speculation.
But you're focusing
Billy,
on the
you're not a dumb man.
Wait, Jack, you're focusing on the settlement. I'm not focusing on the settlement. I'm focusing on
withdrawing is the same thing as the settlement.
I understand that. No, I'm not focusing on that. What I'm focusing on is all the filings previous. And that's important, that when going into the case, Fox never argued that they were telling the truth about a stolen election or had proof of it. That's important. Regardless of the settlement, they can settle again for whatever reason. But the issue that I'm focusing on is that Fox never showed up in any of the filings and claimed truth. They never in any of the filings claimed they had proof of a stolen election.
To Jack's point, though, you could have conversations that were going to be released between Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Rupert Murdoch, all that Fox just didn't want out there.
Yes, absolutely, and that's a good reason to settle.
And that could be part of the settlement.
But what they didn't have is proof.
Yes.
That's important.
Okay,
that's
but
the
what I'm
entire
saying,
thing.
Billy,
During all the previous filings, no proof. They never argued they were telling the truth.
Billy, what I'm saying to you, and you obviously will understand this, we don't have the right to speculate on something that was agreed to by other parties. I mean, it's dead when they settle.
Yeah.
We can't speculate on it. I mean, you want to get into speculation? Call me Pete Boyles, okay? All right.
No, that's fair. And we can't get into the speculation, but what we can do is look at the filings previous. And when Fox News doesn't argue...
It's a dead issue.
No, I know, but hang on. It is relevant when we talk about the idea of all the people that text me and all the people that call, and we got a bunch of them on the screen right now, that say that I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about because there's tons of proof out there. And all I'm saying is the largest court case we had by a multi-billion-dollar corporation that is trying to defend themselves from writing a huge check or going to court, the one thing they didn't argue is the proof that everybody on the phones, that everybody on the text messages tells me exists. But Fox News never, not a single time, went to court or had a filing that said they were telling the truth. They couldn't produce the proof when they were given the shot. And if they could have, the entire lawsuit goes away, and they are the victors. But they can't produce the proof.
I think that's the reach. The idea, though, that the entire lawsuit goes away. I'm not sure. Part of the reason they had to settle was because the attorneys for Dominion were so good at getting broad discovery options into the trial.
Wait.
It's part of the formula.
No, it's not.
Am I out of this conversation?
No, hang on, Jack. Hang on. Truth is an absolute defense in defamation law, which means if someone brings charge, hang on, that's in previous.
They didn't go to trial.
Did they ever argue in the filings they were telling the truth? Ever?
Bill, I'm not saying that they didn't.
No, did they argue they were ever telling the truth?
But I'm saying you're missing part of the component.
No.
That Dominion had broad discovery as a result of it, and it was part of the calculations for why Fox settled. Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, you're speculating on what the purposes of their settling. What you're basically saying is because Fox didn't raise an affirmative defense in their behalf and they settled, that therefore they're guilty. You can't do that, Billy.
That's not what I'm saying, Jack. No, this is what
exactly what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying they're guilty. What I'm saying is all the proof that everybody claims exists, Fox News has the perfect time to bring it forward. All the stuff with John Eastman, no, but they have it in filings beforehand because you have to file early on based on what your proof is. Here's the idea. The court doesn't want to go through an entire trial. If you can walk in previous in filings and show you were telling the truth about the question that is at risk here inside the trial, the defamation lawsuit goes away. What I'm saying is if Fox News would have walked in one of their first 2 filings and shown all the proof that Joel Oltmann, who listens to the show, says exists. He was on this radio station and on other shows talking about all the proof that he has. If they would bring in Joel Oltmann's proof, they bring in Tina Peters' proof, they bring in Michael Lindell's proof, and they put it on the table, the judge rules, we are not going to waste time in court going through a trial because Fox News has offered proof of statement and the lawsuit is dismissed. That's the procedure. Truth is an absolute affirmative defense in this case. And Fox never argued they were telling the truth. I'm not saying guilty. I'm not saying not guilty. I'm saying that for everybody that argues there's proof of election fraud, when Fox News had the perfect opportunity to produce it, they couldn't produce a shred and never walked into court saying they were telling the truth ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ever.
All right, let's go.
See,
Jack,
the thing
final
don't know
comment,
why.
Jack.
You don't know why they did that. See, that's where your speculation lies. I mean, obviously, it looks that way.
Nope.
But you don't know why they did it. There's a million reasons why people do different things.
No. They do not, Jack, you don't write an almost $800 million check if you can prove you were telling the truth. No business does that. I'm not speculating. No business writes an $800 million check if you're telling the truth. You make that thing go away, and guess what happens, Jack? If Fox News walks in there and drops the proof on the desk, they become the truth tellers.
But Bill,
they become
I think
the number one dominant media on the planet.
Here's the assumptions that I think you're making in these arguments. I think you're assuming that the courts were going to be fair to Fox News in this case. I think you're making the assumption that that the trial wasn't going to move forward if they put out a few bits of truth to their claims, that type of thing. And then I think you're discounting the broad discovery that Dominion had into pretty much every aspect of Fox News' business and communications.
Truth is an absolute defense.
Right. You keep saying that, Bill.
Yes.
And the assumption underneath that is that the courts were going to be fair to Fox.
If Fox No. That's not okay. This is the idea, okay, and understand the mental gymnastics we've had to right now is that instead of Fox News ever walking into the court and producing the massive amounts of proof that everybody on the text messages, everybody else says exist, instead of that, they're like, these courts aren't going to be fair to us, so we're going to argue something different. That's not true. If you bring in the proof, the lawsuit dissolves immediately. Yes, and they never once came in with a shred.
But they didn't get to the trial phase. We're going to continue to just debate this back and forth.
Jack, thanks, Jack.
I appreciate it. We got to get to Mike Boyle here.
That's where you do it.
All right, welcome to the
Jeff. To Blake first.
Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. You want to do Blake first, then we'll do Mike?
Well, let's get to Blake, and then we'll do Mike Boyle, and then we'll get to Brian.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'll get to it and get out of here. 42 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 65 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, ICE, at least for now, being blocked from targeting illegals in deportation stings in and around places of worship. The order by a Maryland U.S. district judge exempts administrative or judicial warrants. So a lot of people will be going to church and hang around churches this week, I would imagine. Here's one of the reasons Dan Bongino is qualified for his position in the FBI. The commander-in-chief trusts him, and so does the FBI director. And he won't be going after patriotic parents at school board meetings. And he seeks to hold the corrupt like Adam Schiff accountable.
Why is Adam Schiff so worried? Folks, I strongly encourage you to go back and take another look today at the Russia collusion hoax. I know it's a story that's old and a lot of people want to move on. I'm going to be straight with you. I don't want to move on. We had the FBI, in conjunction with the Department of Justice, officials in Congress, foreign governments, and intel people, fabricate a story, invent a story that could have caused and done serious long-term harm to international relations with a nuclear-powered foe. It's kind of a big freaking deal. I'm not letting them.
And the problem is, though, the FBI, a whistleblower, says that since the election, the FBI has been aggressively destroying files and evidence.
That I heard recently, which was already passed on, is that there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now.
More information being released about the arrest of Broncos linebackers coach Michael Wilhoit. He allegedly punched an officer in the face at DIA. The officer reportedly sustained injuries to both knees and his jaw. Wilhoit was later arrested and facing a charge of second-degree assault on a peace officer. The Broncos say that they are gathering more information. A man has been sentenced for the murder of a DPS employee in 2023. 37-year-old Dante Ellis shot and killed Shayna Johnson. The DA's office said that Ellis was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Delta investigating the source of an onboard haze that forced pilots to return to Atlanta last night. The flight departed for Columbia, South Carolina, Monday morning, that is, but returned quickly to Hartsfield-Jackson International. About 30 minutes later, nearly 100 passengers had to use emergency slides to exit the plane. 2 required medical attention. Pennsylvania authorities say the man who held staff at a Pittsburgh hospital at gunpoint before killing a police officer who actually worked in Denver a few years ago was upset over the death of a family member. Police in York County say the 49-year-old named Diogenes Archangel Ortiz was holding hostages in the hospital ICU on Saturday and threatening to kill one in the hallway when several officers opened fire. And Officer Andrew Duarte, who did work in Denver, and the gunman were killed in the shootout, and 5 others were wounded. The former Secret Service agent who shielded First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy during the assassination of JFK in 1963 has died. The Secret Service says that Clint Hill died at home on Monday at the age of 93. Joy Reid's, well, she's officially done. Joy Reid is at Messy NBC, and she went online.
My show had value, and that...
Oh, it had value. All right. Yes, it did. I'm sorry. I'll keep on going here.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
That what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like being on TV, so I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is,
man, I'm gonna miss her.
Did you hear the audio of her being like, "white boy tears"?
Yes,
yes. And the contrast between the two of them.
Absolutely, yeah. She made fun of white women crying for no reason, and then they compared it to her last night. Yes, I think I
think people just find progressives miserable.
Yeah,
and they just like, I'm gonna spend my evening after a hard day's work listening to some rant about how terrible and racist our country is. I just don't think people are interested in that.
No, I agree.
Go have some fun, make some jokes.
Miserable.
Pop a
this
cold
just
one.
popped up. Let's see this. Let's do this random. Hopefully, she has something good to say here. Let's see.
shout out
to our amazing readers, our audience. I just love running into y'all in the airport, on these streets, and on social media. I could not love or appreciate you more. Thank you, thank you, thank you for.
No, thank you. Thank you.
See ya, Joy.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? And now I'll play Rachel Maddow later. Nobody cares about that crap except for us because we play it on these shows and it's great entertainment.
Yes.
Nobody watches them.
No.
Nobody watch. You know who they watch? They watch Dan Bongino and they listen to you guys. That's what they do. Nobody's turning on the TV. Oh, look at Joy Reid talking.
Rachel Maddow.
Oh,
can't wait to get my daily dose of Rachel Maddow.
Man, just so. I'll play it later. It's so ridiculous. She's just so important. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, come on. You're an anchor at messy NBC. Give it a break. I know you make a lot of money. USAID paid them a lot. Both of them. I don't have proof, though. Don't tell anybody. But I think that's true. Nuggets over the Pacers last night, 125-116, 38 in Lone Tree, 39 in Louisville, and 42 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
You can feel it, right? So it's seeing it with our eyes, and many people have seen it. You can smell, can feel the toxicity, frankly, of the environment. You can feel the
energy of Jeff and Billy. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
But not nearly as fun as tomorrow is going to be, right, Bill?
Tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, we're going to IHOP. They're letting us out in public and getting us food and stuff. This is going to be fun. We get to interact with the public. And, you know, do we get to shake babies and kiss hands, or do I have that backwards? I don't know. I think it's backwards. I don't remember.
You can bring your frustration to Bill right
absolutely.
Right directly if you like. Tomorrow from 6 to 10 a.m., we do these live broadcasts. That means we're going to do the show live from a particular location, and you can sit and watch the entire production operation, all the cameras, all the radio, all the gadgets that come in with it, or just swing by, say hi, give us a tip of your hat. But we're doing it all from the IHOP off of I-25 and Arapahoe Road. And joining us, I think, did he make it back from Mexico? Mike Boyle. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill show this morning.
Well, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Bill. And no, I'm not back yet. I just heard the weather report going to hit 60 degrees today. I'm standing here with Angie Trano from Grinelli's Pizza. Angie, would you like to give a weather report, what we're seeing, what we're looking at, what we're enjoying?
It's warm, sunny. There's not a cloud in the sky, and it's 82 degrees.
And we're standing on the beach. How does that sound, boys?
I got my toes in the water, toes in the sand.
I feel like Mike's taunting us.
I know. That sounds delicious.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
And let me bring in. And now, by the way, you can thank me for the weather, folks, because last Tuesday we left. Had to de-ice the plane at 5 o'clock in the morning. Then you got rough weather. We landed in Mexico. So now that we're coming back, we're bringing the warm weather with us tomorrow, so nobody has any excuse not to join us at the IHOP restaurant on Clinton Street from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock.
It's going to be a ton of fun. 6 a.m., 10 a.m. Tell us about some of the food they're lining up for us there, Mike Boyle.
You know what? We've got, first of all, IHOP every day, all locations has a fave menu, F-A-V-E, and it's 5 items for $6. And these are great breakfast. I've had 3 of them, breakfast burrito. I don't have the menu right in front of me because, folks, I'm kind of busy walking down the beach. But I also have arranged with the the folks at IHOP for a $7.10 special. And we have one's a pancake combo, one's a breakfast combo, $7.10. You can dine in, you can take out, but swing by, get a cup of coffee, have breakfast, and join us.
Oh, yeah, those $6 specials are fantastic, but Mike is hooking up our listeners with an amazing $7.10 breakfast. They're taking some of the other higher-priced menu items and knocking it down to a special price because you're our listeners that morning. The pancake combo, it's 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, bacon or sausage, and hash browns. Or do it like you did when you were a kid and go for that big, giant stack of pancakes, strawberry banana, tres leches, chocolate chip, Cinestack. You can do the chocolate and strawberry, the double berry, the strawberry cheesecake. Yeah, and again, you can have the entire stack of pancakes because Mom ain't there and we aren't telling on you. So if you want to do it like a kid, go ahead. But it's the best breakfast deal you're going to find in town. Nobody else is going to get you out the door at $7.10 with this amount of fresh food. You can't do that at the coffee shop. You can't do that at the fast food place on your way to work. And you know you can't get it out of the vending machine once you get to work. So stop by, see us, grab a cup of coffee, and hang out with us.
I got a Big Mac and a small fry for my son because he was in between track and baseball yesterday.
Yes.
$10.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
For a Big
you know
Mac and a small fry.
I don't know if people like me. I don't know if they like the restaurant show, but they sure like the deals we come up with, right?
Oh, yes, and you are a rock star. People love you. In fact, most of the people showing up tomorrow are going to come to see you because Mike's going to be wandering around alone, and then you get to see us as well. You know, Jeff and my silly face are going to be there behind a table. We'll get up and we'll talk to you, but Mike will wander around and chat with you, tell him about your favorite restaurant, chat with him about restaurants that are in your neighborhood that maybe haven't been discovered that you'd like to give a little shine on, or tell him about the favorite event that you went to that Mike, you're like, wow, you know, I showed up at the restaurant show and you had this amazing deal at this restaurant and now it's one of our favorites.
That's the whole idea. Get people out of their rut a little bit. You know, it's been said that our world, the world of an American, is about a 3-mile radius. And that's where they go to church, where they have their kids at school. It's where they buy their groceries, their tires, have a meal. So all we try to do is get people out and about a little bit. We try to get them out of their rut. And that's the same thing we do with a group trip. And maybe at some point we might want to think about, you know what, last time Jeff went to Washington, D.C., Bill, and you were stuck in Denver manning the helm.
Yes.
Maybe what we should do is put together a Mike and Bill trip to Mexico and let Jeff sweat it out in Denver.
Torture. What are you doing to me?
That's a great idea.
It's brutal.
Matter of fact, guys, let me bring you a little flavor here.
Yeah.
I am standing with mi amigo Ricardo. Ricardo is the guy that runs the Hobie Cat off the beach here.
Oh, love
he
Hobies.
took me out yesterday. We did some snorkeling. Ricardo, would you like to invite the boys to come to Mexico?
Yes, sir. Hola, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Colorado.
All right, folks. He's a man of few words.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That is awesome. That makes the interview so much better.
I'm a little worried, though. I'm a little worried that if I go to Mexico with you, what I'm worried about is that the Trump administration finds I'm out of the country and then I can't get back in. They'll cancel my passport.
Just keep you there.
No,
you know
can
what?
stay outside.
You know what? I get you here. I get you to the resort. Whether or not you can get back, Bill, that's entirely up to you. By the way, Bill, why don't you share with listeners the photo I sent you this morning of where I'm
we'll have to
walking
show you
right
that.
now?
Yes, I'll send it over to the video guys and see if they can get that up. That is fantastic. It is the most beautiful, picturesque beach you've ever seen.
And by the way, folks, I want to let you know, tomorrow, you know what? I know that 6 to 10 is a long time. Jeff and Bill are going to be working. I'll be there shaking hands, hugging the ladies. But, you know, let me just tell you, come by, stay for a little while, watch a little bit of the show, say hello, and then mosey on your way. If you want to come for the whole thing, we'd love to have you. But whatever you'd like to do, we'd just like to see
Mike, there's something Boyle in here from Mike Boyle, but there are, he's showing the picture up there, but there are 2 ladies seeking to become chairwoman of the Colorado Republican Party, Darcy Showing and Britta Horn. They are both swinging by. Darcy's going to be on the show at 8, Britta at 8, Britta at 9, as well as Mark Baisley, Brandy Bradley, others are all coming by. You're going to have a whole slew of conservative leaders, including those that want to lead the Colorado Republican Party, grabbing breakfast, doing interviews, and then sticking around to meet and talk with you. So great event tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to meeting some of those. I've met a couple of them. Matter of fact, I had a wonderful conversation a few years ago with Britta Horn. And you know what? It looks like the Republican Party is hopefully, just like nationally, going to be in good hands in Colorado.
It's going to be a great opportunity tomorrow to meet and kick the tires a little bit. Get to see who you'd want to have lead the Colorado Republican Party. So all of this tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., Wednesday, February 26th at the IHOP off of I-25. All the details at 710knus.com. Mike, we'll let you get back to the beach. Enjoy the day.
Yes, enjoy the day. We'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you in the morning. We're bringing the warm weather back to you tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. That's amazing.
Thanks, Mike.
No
Let's
fair.
continue with the phone calls. Let's go to Brian Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Hey, I like Mike. I listen to him on the weekends when I can. So love his show. There's a lot to unpack here with this morning. So I'll be quick. But there's proof is a farce. It's people in authority that will tell you that's proof. Evidence is really kind of to change the conversation. But anyway, there's a lot of evidence that hasn't been exposed to cause people to prove anything about the election. But there's enough evidence to take a closer look and say, let's not let what happened in 2020 ever happen again. So that's where I'll leave it. And Dan Bongino, you know who else didn't have evidence or proof? The Russia hoax, the Russia collusion hoax. Nobody had any proof or evidence there, but MSNBC.
Oh, come on.
No,
Mueller couldn't even quote his own report.
Hang on a second.
He got drilled in front of Congress when they said.
Hang on, Brian. Let's talk about the report. I don't care about his responses. I'm talking about what's inside the report. Inside the report, Robert Mueller is able to show coordination between the Trump campaign and between Russia. He has emails going back and forth. He has some actions
what
that
was
Russia
the level
takes
of it?
after. Hang on a sec.
Right.
I'm not saying it's collusion. He said cooperation, and he draws this out. And then we have proof of obstruction of justice afterwards.
No,
but the idea of it
proof,
being,
Billy.
hang on a sec. Yes, we have actions based on. We have actions that Mueller can prove, and we didn't go forward with them in court. But again, that's fine. You can discount them. But
no.
Robert Mueller showed coordination between Russia and
I agree.
Trump.
I agree with you, Brian.
Proved
Donald Trump Jr. the other day when we were at the inauguration goes, we couldn't coordinate to order a cheeseburger. The idea that we were somehow colluding with Russia in 2016 was crazy.
I never said colluding. That's a legal
They
term.
proved it. I know, but that's what MSNBC and that's what CNN ran with, collusion.
Yes, and
that's
they were
what
wrong.
they ran with, and there was no
the term
proof.
was wrong.
But where's the defamation lawsuit there? Where's the defamation lawsuit there?
Because
I don't hear
hang
it.
on, wait, Brian. Because there's coordination. That's the reason the lawsuit didn't happen as far as libel and defamation is because there's
Coordinating
coordination.
to have a buffet. Coordinating to have a conference buffet with the lowest level of a Trump person is not collusion to change an election. Robert Mueller, who didn't even write his own report.
I know it's funny, but we have emails going back and forth. We have emails going back and forth between people involved in Russian intelligence agencies.
Right.
We have Paul Manafort. Wait,
from
Brian,
the lowest
Paul
level, Billy.
Hang on a sec. Wait, hang on a sec. I didn't say there was collusion. I said there was coordination. Paul Manafort has come out and publicly said that yes, he was feeding information about the Russian campaign about the Trump campaign into Russian intelligence. Yes, their emails that the Trump campaign got wrong.
We've got to get to a
break
break here.
That's it, man. It's there. That's fine. I appreciate the phone call, Brian.
Brian, great call. Sure appreciate it. We'll continue the debate. We just got to get to a break here. Give us a call. Brian's line's open, 303-696-1971. I'm going to go back to the original question. Dan Bongino, Assistant Director of the FBI. Good pick? And what do you expect? And how long does he have before you want to see the Epstein list, Kennedy, RFK, MLK, the details on all that, the 2020 election? How long does he have before you need to see that information? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
Governor Greg Abbott is speaking out after a report that an entire city is being constructed in Texas that would be ruled by Sharia law. The governor taking to X saying, to be clear, Sharia law is not allowed in Texas, nor are Sharia cities, nor are no-go zones, which this project seems to imply. Bottom line, he said, the project as proposed in the video is not allowed in Texas. Governor Abbott's remarks come after a video was circulated on social media showing the plans for a 402-acre city that would allegedly be ruled by Sharia law. The community is called Epic Ranches, and it will feature a mega mosque and Islamic school, parks for mass prayer gatherings and Islamic festivals, and a community centered around Islam. The video promises that this new city, located near Dallas, will be the epicenter of Islam in America.
Through the help of all of the brothers and sisters and our prayers, it will be the epicenter of Islam in America.
Mubarak Epic City.
President Donald Trump says he's hopeful the war in Ukraine is coming close to ending as he met with French President Emmanuel Macron on the third anniversary of the start of the war. Trump commenting on the state of the conflict, saying he believes Russian President Vladimir Putin would accept European forces in Ukraine to keep the peace. Trump also expressed hope the conflict can end within weeks, and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky will soon come to the U.S. to sign a deal to give the U.S. access to Ukraine's critical minerals to help repay some of the $180 billion in American aid that's been sent to Kiev since the start of the war.
I think we could end it within weeks if we're smart. If we're not smart, it'll keep going and we'll keep losing young, beautiful people that shouldn't be dying. And we don't want that. And remember what I said, this could escalate into a third world war. And we don't want that either.
Mr. President.
Many are now calling for property taxes to be abolished nationwide after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced in a news conference that he's pushing to end property taxes in Florida. Watch.
Okay, you've paid off the mortgage, you bought the land, you've been taxed many times. It's like, is it your property or not? Just for being on your property, you got to write a check to the government every year. So you're basically paying rent to the government to live on your own property. And our homestead exemption is not strong enough to help these folks. You're paying more, and a lot of people can't afford that. So I think that that's a big issue, and I know we're going to be really looking at ways to bring people relief from that.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Patel, Pam Bondi, the direction of our intelligence agencies. What do you think about all of that? We're going to get to the phone lines, Jim, in just a second. Look, are you ready to transform your kitchen or bathroom into a stunning masterpiece? Look no further than the Art of Granite, your premier destination for exquisite granite, marble, and quartz countertops. For over 15 years, Mitch Floria, owner of the Art of Granite, has been crafting and installing custom countertops, fireplaces, showers, and more. Their team of experts will guide you through the selection process, ensuring you find the perfect stone to match your style and budget. Visit their showroom in Golden or browse their online inventory at theartofgranite.com. Discover the endless possibilities for your home renovation project. If you mention KNUS and get a bathroom, you can get a free bathroom countertop. All you have to do, mention KNUS and get a free bathroom countertop with new kitchen countertops, or choose a free kitchen or bathroom sink with any countertop package. Don't wait. Transform your home into the oasis you deserve. Schedule your free consultation with Mitch today. Go to theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. Mention KNUS for these exclusive savings. Transform your kitchen or bathroom dreams into reality with theartofgranite.com. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Jim Sterling. Good morning, Jim. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, you guys, and thanks. The way we all see it, the way everybody that I know, Trump is putting in strategically precisely the people that are educated and stand for what we all stand for. They're logistic, they're credible, they're all of these things, and they stand for level-headed, just logical, level-headed thinkers. And we can't find many of them anymore.
No, Jim, to your point, especially those that have been educated in Ivy League schools, we're not getting the most competent, brilliant people coming out of these institutions. And what you saw...
But they don't teach that, do they?
Right.
They don't teach common sense. They don't teach common sense.
Jim, that was brought up over and over again at CPAC, that this was a revolution of common sense.
Yeah, Reagan said it in 1975. You know, he brought that up back then. You know, common sense ain't so common. And now, if Reagan, if he was here today, he wouldn't even imagine what's going on today. I mean, there's no such thing as common sense anymore. I want your opinion on that. And hey, I mean, they'd make your Harley Davidson. These people think they'd make your Harley. I mean, oh, it's an electric Harley. Oh yeah, now we got to have electricity to run in pipes so I can sound like, so my pipes come out of my motorcycle. You know, I mean, these people did not grow up in the way that we did back in the days, or how we think level-headedly. You know,
and Jim, to that point, what you saw particularly in Republicanism, in the Mitt Romney days, in the George H.W. Bush days, was the idea that the smartest person, the person that got the highest SAT score, for instance, should be the leader. So when you look at Mitt, for instance, you get a guy that has an MBA from Harvard. You get a guy that's got a JD from Harvard, you know, like the top schools, right? And there was this thinking that if you scored the best, if you were the most elite, you were the guy that should make those types of decisions. And what ended up happening was institutional bloat. You got guys that couldn't necessarily push back, break up parts of the government, and the federal government just continued to grow, get bigger, spend more money, get in more debt.
Why was that? Why did? But it's still
because they're at the end of the day
that way? Why did?
Yeah, they're institutionalists. So these are the guys.
Institutionalists are what? They're just in bed with somebody?
No, they follow the rules. So they went to Yale.
But who made the rules?
The smart people. They went to Yale.
No.
They went to Harvard. They got the best SAT scores. They got the law degrees. They got the MBAs.
Yeah, but they can't plow a ground and they can't ride a motorcycle.
Jim, you're exactly right. And that's why Donald Trump has transformed the Republican Party. Great call. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, Jeff. And I said to Billy that we should start, or Bongino should start with low-hanging fruit. For example, Enrique Tarrio has come out on Gateway Pundit saying that the FBI and the DOJ in struggle sessions tried to get him to sign paperwork that said that he was colluding with Donald Trump before his trial so that he could get a get-out-of-jail-free card. Basically, if you roll on President Trump, we'll go ahead and cut you loose. That's Soviet-style tactics, and it is just so blatantly against the law that they should start with things like this and then follow the chain up, and one at a time put those FBI guys in and the DOJ in their own struggle session, only with the law on our side, and say, okay, you told this guy, who told you to do this? Who gave you the documents to say that Donald Trump did this? Who did this? And if you lie, you go to jail for a year.
I love it. Joe, I think that's how you got to root it out. You got to find out where this started, who gave the orders. And look, I don't think every FBI agent is a
Who started what and
progressive.
gave orders to do what? What are we talking
Joe
about?
just talked about.
But-
to go after and say, you got to cut these deals and flip on Trump, the J6ers that they went to.
Yeah, but that's DAs and investigations do it all the time, especially when you're investigating mob and criminal organizations. You look for the higher guys up. You go for the lower hanging fruit, just like Joe talked about, and then you try to pull the strings and get higher up. There are district attorneys across the country that do that.
There was no effort by Donald Trump to create the violence that took place on January 6th. And they were trying to get J6ers to flip on that.
Again,
Enrique Tarrio would not roll. And so what did they do? They gave him 22 years in prison and went to the next guy. Well, guess what?
It's like the plot of Goodfellas.
Now it's
Same
your
thing.
time, FBI dude, to go to jail, because that is not the type of tactics that the United States employs. You don't put a document in front of a prisoner and say, "Hey, we're gonna go light on you if you'll roll on the president of the United States, and here's what you
all the time.
signed."
Joe, that happens all the time.
That happens all the
time. No, that does
it
not.
It wasn't rolling. They were
Yes, it
trying
does.
to get the J6ers to fabricate something that wasn't true.
Not necessarily fabricate.
Exactly.
We don't. No. Again. You guys have come to the assumption we don't know what other proof they have
Nonsense.
to say how they were going to put it
we
together.
have no
yeah,
other
we
proof.
do.
We did a whole congressional investigation.
Billy
Donald
nonsense.
Trump had nothing to do with inciting violence on January 6th.
No, it's how the criminal case was being put together.
Okay,
and the
well
structure inside the criminal
let me go
case.
to another point. Okay,
Yeah.
Billy, you can create your own little reality there, but let's look at something we
DAs
know
agree with
happened.
me, 'cause that's what they do.
Okay, just a second. Remember Stork, whatever his name was?
Yeah, Peter Strzok. Yeah.
Peter Strzok and his girlfriend, lover that they were having. Remember,
Yeah.
she was part
Yeah.
of the Justice Department. Remember that?
Yep.
Well,
Sure do
guess
remember that.
what? They sat down and said that they were going to put together a plan to keep Donald Trump out. Remember this?
Yeah,
and
the two of them.
And then all of a sudden, all of their text messages got deleted. Well, it's time to sit all of those FBI and DOJ people down and start rolling on each other.
We had an
Who was
investigation.
it that,
Joe, we had an investigation.
Let me finish.
We had an investigation.
Go ahead and tell us who told you to delete the text messages. We know you did it.
We already had that
Who
investigation.
told you to do it?
We already did that investigation. It ran for 6 years. Thanks for the call, Joe, and cost millions of dollars and didn't come back with anything. We
Oh,
already had that
there's
investigation.
more to discover for sure. Joe, great call.
See what
We'll
happens.
continue the debate. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
City on this Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center. No other show in Denver is like this. You tune into those other ones, you're going to get a monologue. We are having debates, discussions, all of it happening right here on the Jeff and Bill Show. Coming up this hour, got a little unique audio. And this is important, Bill, because sometimes big ideas start really, really small.
Yeah, so do dumb ones, but that's just saying. So this will be a fun conversation.
Bill, I think there's an argument to be made that if you support the national popular vote and pure democracy and one vote, one person, you should support getting rid of the 22nd Amendment.
Ooh, I will let you make that case, sir. I'm intrigued.
There's a case made by others that Donald Trump should have a third term. It's starting to boil up at CPAC. We're going to get into that in a second. But first, Blake Olson.
Blake Olson. Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. It's 47 and sunny. Beautiful outside in Denver, expecting a high of 65 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Apple plans to invest over $500 billion into the U.S. over the next 4 years. The effort includes building a new factory in Houston. It'll benefit chip facilities here in Colorado, Arizona, Oregon, and Utah. Day 36 of the Great Awakening. And guess what? The Super Bowl champion Eagles will go to the White House if invited. Despite some claims online that the team would say no to the invite, reports came out last weekend that the team would skip a visit, but a team official tells Sports Illustrated they would be honored to visit the White House. I mean, they have a lot in common with DJT. Come on. They both took belt to ass on their biggest day.
Whoa, the Eagles took belt to ass.
And that's what it's all about. Hopefully it happens. Elon says federal employees will be given another chance to reply to an email asking them what they accomplished last week if they missed the midnight deadline on Monday. Says agencies should review responses and evaluate non-responses. Scott Jennings on all this crime.
It's abusive to
Yes,
get an email?
I do. I do think that. I think the way that they are. Yeah, I think the way that they are treating them.
Why? How is this abusive?
Scott, have you ever
gotten an email from someone that said you better
do this or else you're going to resign?
Yeah, it's called having a boss in the private sector.
From someone who's not your boss.
Well, the White House is every federal worker's boss. That's number one.
Elon
number
Musk
two,
is not anybody's boss.
Number two,
Scott, how is Elon going to evaluate? I mean, how is he going to evaluate the work of thousands of federal employees when he has no idea what they do?
He's not. The test was, are you even paying attention to your email? Are you even at your terminal?
Some federal workers, he sent it on a weekend. Some federal workers do not have access to their emails on the weekends. They just don't.
Did they go to work today? I mean, look, the amount of outrage, melting down, and sort of outpouring of emotion over this ought to tell you everything you need to know. We had a lady on CNN.
Boy, it's so true. And then he talks about the lady going on CNN instead of going and sending the email.
So here's the deal. This is where we need to start. Okay, I was just looking this up. 70% of all donations from federal employees go to Democrats. 90% of Washington, D.C. voters, which make up a good portion of the federal government, voted for Kamala Harris. Okay? The federal government is a Democrat jobs program.
Yep.
That's what it is, okay? And what Elon Musk is doing, what conservatives and what Americans should support, is you raise it all, shut it all down, and we start from scratch on what's absolutely necessary. Because here's the deal. That salary, that paycheck that's going to that federal employee, that's not just coming from some ethereal area. That is the hard-working tax dollar of the American person. We are literally taking $1 away from an American citizen.
Yes.
And we're handing it to somebody else in the federal government and saying, we're going to pay your salary, okay? Your job should be so important and so critical to the functioning of this country that we're willing to take that dollar away from somebody at the point of a gun, because that's what a tax is, at the point of a gun, and hand it to somebody else. And this idea that you can't answer an email, you can't list the 5 things you need to do, the government's so bloated, it is a Democrat jobs program. You shut it all down, you start over, and you look at what's absolutely critical. That needs to be the posture here.
It has to be done, or the blob will continue to grow.
Always. And you get it. Yeah, Jared Polis today is putting out a tweet. Do you know that someone's job, they're doing critical Lyme disease research? Every federal job is some tear-jerking job that absolutely has to be paid. Our country's been around for coming up on 250 years, and somehow we got through the first 200 of it just fine without this giant federal government.
Yep.
But they do it every single job. It's just this tearjerker story about what's going to happen if we don't pay this federal employee. And I want to get back to the position. I was thinking, I want every lawmaker that wants to pay for any federal job to beg the American people that dollar is so important that we have to rip it out of the hands of some middle of the road taxpayer and hand it to this government employee. We don't do it.
Yes.
They just rob and steal and take it from the middle class, hand it to these bloated government employees, and then the minute you try to criticize them on it, you're the bad guy.
Can we take it from Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Elon? How about that? Since we're focusing on the middle class, why don't we take it from them?
Any tax.
Let's go take it from them.
Any tax is theft, in my opinion.
Let's go. But you were conveniently focusing on the struggling middle class.
Oh yeah,
not the richest guy, not the richest guy on the planet.
Okay. Either way,
well, they
it's
pay
theft.
more anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I think everyone should pay 10%, and that's it. But those guys pay 70, 60, 70%.
And they're doing so badly because of it, you can tell. They
Well,
only have
I'm
several
glad,
yachts.
but see, this
Only
isn't
several yachts.
France.
The
This is
struggle.
America. I'm
The
not
struggle.
jealous of them.
The struggle.
One day I hope to be them, even though that's
Struggling,
probably
yes.
not going to happen.
Yeah, the struggle. It's so hard for them. Yes, they obviously.
Well, I would imagine they had to work to get there somewhere.
The yoke
along
of
the way.
oppression is awful. Yes, they're barely struggling.
I'm not
So
jealous
difficult.
of them. Greed, envy, jealousy is not part of me, or at least it shouldn't be. I try to fight that. Critical is the word. I agree with you on that, Jeff. Elon, let's see. ICE agents are temporarily being barred from going after illegal immigrants in and around places of worship, one way to increase church attendance. The Vatican says Pope Francis's condition remains the same as yesterday. If you missed it, Vivek Ramaswamy is running for Ohio governor. The billionaire and former Republican presidential candidate launched his campaign in Cincinnati. I'm not jealous of him either. A viral video shows a trio of thieves staging a seizure to steal puppies from a Colorado pet store. It happened at Perfect Pets in Centennial. One of the suspects is seen on the footage suddenly falling to the floor with employees and customers going over to help him. Another man is then seen walking back to the store, opening a case of puppies and grabbing 2 English bulldogs before running away. 2 of the 3 suspects were able to get away, while the man who staged the seizure was arrested. Joy Reid's officially done at MSNBC.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value.
Megyn Kelly ripped her after that because she's a racist hypocrite. Talked about white women crying, and now here she is crying. But Don Lemon, he didn't like that. So here's Girl Talk with Don Lemon.
So let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my 30-some years as a journalist and my 50-some years as a person of color, go fuck yourself. Okay? I usually don't like to talk about her because she's one of those people. She thrives on it. She has built the second part of her career on being a troll. So this is what Megyn Kelly said about Joy Reid, right? And remember, Joy Reid is a woman. Megyn Kelly's a woman. She's supposed to be all about women and, supports women. Okay, so this is what she said. Remember when Joy Reid laughingly mocked white women tears as pathetic and offensive to her? Who's crying now, Joy? Good riddance to the absolute worst person on television, and shame on NBC for letting it go on this long.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree entirely too.
Well put.
Oh man, it's live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're going to go mock people for crying, guess what? When you cry, it's going to be brought back.
What comes around goes around. Nuggets over the Pacers last night, 125-116. Alex Ovechkin has a chance to close in further on Wayne Gretzky, the great one. His all-time goals record tonight. The Capitals need just 13 more goals to break Gretzky's record of 894. Ovechkin does. Jeff and Billy continue.
We're bringing the warm weather with us tomorrow, so nobody has any excuse not to join us at the IHOP restaurant on Clinton Street from 6 o'clock until 10.
All right, that's tomorrow. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The IHOP that is just south of Arapahoe Road and I-25 on Clinton Street. So get off of I-25, you head east on Arapahoe, and then you take a right onto Clinton and swing on down. See us at the IHOP. Mike Boyle is going to be there. Jeff Hildebrand, our Cowboy Poet Laureate, is going to be there. Hopefully you will be there. And we've got the $6 special that is going on there at IHOP, but we also have amazing $7.10 offers. You can get the ginormous stack of pancakes, or you can have a more balanced breakfast. 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, bacon, sausage, and hash browns, $7.10. There isn't going to be a better deal anywhere in the metro area tomorrow morning for that kind of breakfast, served delicious, piping hot and fresh. Join us tomorrow between 6 and 10. I want to take a minute to tell you about a new advertiser here on the show, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. This one's kind of personal for me. We've talked about my aunt. Years ago, developed a chronic wound on her leg. While she was getting the wound treated, she was exposed to MRSA in one of the facilities. That led to a long series of lengthy hospital stays. It really impacted her health and eventually led to some amputations. It was something she dealt with for years afterwards because, in part, the wound care facility wasn't healing the wound. You don't fix the problem by ignoring it, do you? Okay, if you're one of those people that takes the electrical tape and puts it over the check engine light on the car, I'm not talking to you. But if you're a person that's worried about that check engine light, we got to talk. Because Wound Care Associates of Colorado does things differently. If you or someone in your family has a slow-healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore, it can be incredibly challenging, and that little cut can lead to a very big deal because that torn tissue and skin is exactly where the dirt, germs, and bacteria get access to your body or your loved one's body. Now, if you're struggling with that chronic wound, Wound Care Associates of Colorado does it like they used to do it old school. They come to your house. Their certified nurse wound care practitioner comes to your house and provides all the treatment that you need in the comfort and privacy of your own home. No transportation issues, and like my aunt, you're not in a facility where you might be exposed to another dirty little bacteria or germ that's going to get in your system and really cause problems. Jennifer Walker, who started Wound Care Associates of Colorado, has a horrible story about the same thing happening to her uncle. She lost her uncle because a small cut became infected and they didn't get it treated properly. It's that easy for this thing to go south. So don't wait. Contact them at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. They'll come to your house. You get the treatment you need in the convenience, comfort, and privacy of your own home. It is a personalized treatment schedule that just focuses on healing your wound. And that's the difference maker. Not only do they come to your house, they make sure your cut heals. They take all the necessary steps to promote prompt healing. Some of those wound care facilities, like the one my aunt was working with, they weren't working at trying to fix it. They were just trying to maintain the wound. Told you how that worked out. Don't do it. Don't make the same mistake. Make sure you contact the Wound Care Associates of Colorado at coloradowound.com. Make an appointment for you or your loved one today, because that little deal can turn into a very, very big deal before you know it. Reach out to them, coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com, and when you do, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because it helps us out.
That's great to hear, Bill. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jim, Denver. Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
Good morning, Jeff and Bill. I love the structure of your show, and this would be a much saner country if more stations would adopt your format.
Oh, that's
but I do have a question for, I have a question for Jeff, and that's if you wanted to weaponize the FBI to go after your political enemies, Jeff, I want to know if you could name two better people than Kash, Patel, and Dan Bongino.
So the argument being that because of the enemies list, for instance, that Kash Patel is now going to be weaponizing the FBI to go after those people?
Yeah, and Dan is just as bad or worse. Says the Democratic Party is full of communists that just want to enslave the country.
I will tell you this, and I've heard this in conservative circles, okay, by people that have been investigated, had their doors kicked in, had the SWAT team show up, had their finances ripped through by the FBI, that type of stuff, okay? There's a level of thinking that is looking at what happened under the last 4 years and how you get Democrats to stop doing that moving forward, okay? Raising concerns, arguing and going back to the original intent of the FBI and the operations of the FBI and those types of things didn't work. The progressive left saw lawfare as a legitimate way to go after their political opponents. And I'm not just talking Donald Trump. I'm talking about a lot of other people in the conservative movement who were harassed, targeted, and had the weight of the federal government used against them, okay? There's a line of thinking that goes, we tried to do the upright thing. We tried to get them to stop. They saw this as a tool and a weapon to go after us. The only way that we can send a clear message to stop doing this moving forward and to get our country back on track is to unleash it upon them.
I hate to go back to an old bromide, Jeff, but two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, that's pretty obvious to everybody.
Tell me, Jim, how you get progressives to stop using lawfare.
I reject the whole term of the lawfare. I think there were legitimate crimes, and I think every time it's come to a trial, juries have been unanimous that there's been legitimate crimes. You know, and that's where
you
these things get settled.
You didn't see anything that the left did. The praying grandma, the going after and targeting people praying outside of pro-life clinics. You saw that all as legitimate.
Now, I don't know about those specific cases. I don't know enough to comment on them, Jeff. But I'm basically talking about the big deals of, Donald Trump's crimes. And the crimes that he's never going to see the courtroom for. And I mean, the two weakest cases he got convicted on, and the two strongest cases he's been able to forestall, and he'll never be tried for them. And they were the most serious crimes.
Jim, you believe that the signing
that's not lawfare. That's justice.
Jim, come on. The charging Donald Trump under felonies in Manhattan under the same thing that Hillary Clinton got a campaign finance fine for. You don't see that as lawfare?
That is questionable, Jeff, and I'll grant you that. I think that there definitely was a political motivation there. Okay. But the jury convicted him 12-0. He did break those laws, and there were hundreds of millions of dollars involved. So, and I didn't follow it that closely, but I'm talking about the big stuff. I'm talking about Donald Trump taking, 100, having all those classified records, and then giving the finger to the government when they asked for it
Jim,
back.
why was Joe Biden not prosecuted for his classified documents?
Because what did he have? A couple of them, and he didn't even know they were in his garage. Everyone says Joe's a doddering idiot.
Right. So Joe Biden as vice president. I don't think it was a deliberate
thing.
Jim, Joe Biden as vice president, without the ability to declassify documents, has them stored in his garage. Hardly knows they're even there. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, former president, has the power to declassify documents according to the way our government's set up, gets prosecuted. Joe Biden doesn't. Jim, look. Progressives understood they could wage lawfare against their political opponents. They absolutely did that the last 4 years, and they didn't just do it against Donald Trump. They unleashed the power of the federal government against pretty much any conservative leader that was out there, and I still haven't heard how you get the left to stop doing that.
Jeff, the big difference between Trump's and Biden's classified documents was that Joe Biden cooperated with the government immediately. Donald Trump told the government to go to hell. You don't get them back. I don't have them. No, you stay out of my place. And that is it's the defiance of the rule of law that Donald Trump exhibited.
Jim, it's amazing to me you don't see the lawfare that was taking place, not against just Donald Trump, but a lot of conservative folks out there. You have Tina Peters in jail for 9 years right now. Jim, Tina Peters, hold on. We got Tina Peters in jail for 9 years. You can rape a child in Colorado and get out on probation.
Yeah, I want to go back.
You
to
guys don't get this lawfare that's taking place out there.
Let's go back to this lawfare thing, and what I want to focus on is what Donald Trump was charged with in the classified documents case. What was he charged with specifically?
Remind me.
It was the retention, because he had been asked to give them back, and he was charged for retention. He actually ignored a subpoena that was delivered to him that his lawyers advised him, we cannot ignore this and we need to return the documents. He said, and famously, that we've had this reported, he said, what if they just, and then he reached in and he made a motion as if just picking them out and telling them to disappear out of the document. And so he was talking about that way to the lawyers. Donald Trump was charged for the retention of the documents because when he was asked for them, he didn't give them back. When Mike Pence and Joe Biden were asked for them back, they said, come and search and take them. That's the difference.
President.
Hang on a sec.
Both vice presidents.
Hang on a sec.
No, these are big differences.
Stop. No, it's not. Here's the issue.
Huge differences.
No, because
constitutional differences, Bill.
No, it's not. And here's the reason why. Because of retention, Biden and Pence did not refuse to give them back. That's what they were charged on. That's what Trump was charged under. Trump was charged for the refusal to give back the documents. And that's why we didn't have charges in the Biden and Pence
he had the right
issue.
to declassify them.
And he's never provided any proof that he did.
Doesn't have to.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he
No, he
okay,
doesn't.
He's
the president of the United States.
Okay, hey, Jim.
You guys,
Jim, let's look at
we've
this
had
here.
this debate over and over again. You guys create this other area. Somebody else in the federal government gets to determine what records are classified and declassified when the Constitution says that power exists with the President of the United States.
Once they're declassified, is there a process and procedure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was that process and procedure followed?
I don't know.
No.
But is that
That's
on
your
Donald
answer.
Trump? And is that worth charging him with felonies
Hang on.
for?
Wait. If it was declassified, the process and procedure would have been followed.
I don't think it's law, though. I think it's process and procedure, Bill.
But I know, but the process and procedure wasn't followed. So this claim that Donald Trump declassified them has no proof because the process and procedure didn't exist. And guess what? The people that are involved in the process and procedure are in the Trump administration. This isn't deep state lackeys that are trying to screw him.
Raid Melania's underwear drawer.
The result
that
is...
That was lawfare.
No, the result...
100% lawfare.
The result is give back the documents. He was under subpoena
and
refused that. Yes, he does.
He's the former president of the United States. He has the power to do that.
Former. He doesn't. Once he leaves office, he has no power to do that. Former.
He did it while he was in office. That's what he said.
We have no proof. We have no proof. We have zero proof.
Bill,
He's
the
never provided any
constitutional
proof
issue
of that.
on this is you still want to create a bureaucracy that has ultimate power over the president of the United States to do this.
No, it's a process and procedure issue.
That took place here.
No, it isn't.
And
it
again,
isn't.
it's process and procedure,
Yes.
not law.
The process has to
Jim,
be followed in order to declassify it. The process has to be followed, or it's not declassified. This isn't an unelected bureaucrat making a decision about the declassification of documents. No, it isn't.
100% is.
The issue is that Trump never issued the order. If he would have given the order, the documents would have been declassified. And if you really think they are,
law
if you
for
think
him
they
to
are,
have to give that order, Bill.
if you think they are, request them under FOIA, because he should have to give them to you.
Just because
Request
they're
them under
declassified
FOIA.
does not mean they're fully accessible
Request
to
them
FOIA.
under FOIA. Request them. He said he fully declassified them.
All right.
Find it.
I want to talk to you about my friends at Mountain High Appliance. It's a new year, and it's time for you to get a kitchen upgrade. Save big during Mountain High's President's Day event going on now. Save up to $3,700 on premium KitchenAid appliances. KitchenAid has been a trusted name in homes and professional kitchens around the world for over 100 years. Built to last and made for those who love to cook. When you think appliances this President's Day, think Mountain High Appliance. That's a Mountain High Appliance. Look, I'm going to go back to my original question that Jim and I were talking about. And I'll ask you this, Bill, and ask our listeners. Do you think that lawfare took place against Donald Trump under the Biden administration?
I could maybe go with Alan Bragg, but when you say under the Biden administration, it seems like you were talking about
during
a
the
directive.
4 years.
Hang on,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
hang on. What I'm saying is when you say under the Biden administration, it seems like you're establishing a directive. Now, can you say that did lawfare exist against Donald Trump? Yeah, I probably can get there with you because of Alan Bragg. What I don't see is any directive from the White House.
Okay.
And going back and just bringing up something that was just texted in off the air a little bit, that Donald Trump, however, in the classified documents case, doesn't have the power to convert government documents into his own personal property. So he would not have the right to have those.
Somebody
afterwards.
else does. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. But I want to get to this point.
I know, but that's the government.
Okay.
So he doesn't have the right to them.
If lawfare is taking place, to Jim's point, and my question, how do you get the left to stop using it?
Again, you're talking about the left. As
Alvin
far as-
Bragg, anybody, I don't care. Local prosecutor, all the way to Biden. Wherever we fall on that spectrum, I don't care. What I'm ultimately interested in is if the left has been using the power of the legal system to intimidate and prosecute their political opponents, not because they're interested in justice, but because we want to go after our political opponents. Tell me how you stop that.
Do you believe the right does the same thing?
That's not my question. Tell me how
No.
you stop the left from doing
this
it.
is the idea. This is the reason why I'm asking, is because what you're doing is you're saying the left. Again, you're going to the same thing. Biden directed this. No. What I say is they're individual actors. I do not see this thing as far as the left. And what you're doing, and this is the reason why it's important in the conversation, is because it's just like the idea of this grandiose royal we, that it's this assumption that the left has these meetings and there's a giant whiteboard somewhere and they've got their, Legion of Doom hidden hideout that comes up and rises up out of the swamp, where they go ahead and they put together all of these plans, yet we don't see any of those plans. And these plans were so clever and so well targeted to bring down Donald Trump that they started with the weakest of all of the law cases. Yeah, the one that is probably the most BS is the one they led with, because this grand, huge cabal trying to bring down Donald Trump also are idiots at the same time. No, they're going to be individual actors, just like there are on the left and the right, that are going to have things that are going to overstep the boundaries. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
How do you stop it?
You bring those lawyers up on charges, you remove them from office.
Of what?
Wrongful prosecution. Show them, Isn't that that's what you do. That's why John Eastman's losing some of his license, because he came out and said a whole bunch of BS. So now his law license is under suspension.
We need to hold them accountable.
We
need to hold them accountable when they use lawfare.
And some of the people that were involved in the bogus 2020 election conspiracy have lost their law licenses because they came to court with bogus lawsuits.
So
that's how you do it.
They went after that. So
that's how you do it.
That's the point. Jim's getting
Go
upset.
after Alan Bragg's law license.
Gosh, Kash Patel's got his enemies list, all that stuff. He's going to go after and prosecute these people. Yes. That is exactly what Kash Patel is going to do. And while Bill may think that there's no concerted effort with Lawfare, I see it totally different. There is Lawfare that took place not just against Donald Trump, but pretty much if you are a major conservative leader, you've had Lawfare waged against you by progressives, and it needs to be a mutually assured destruction effort. Okay? You need to bring the weight of these institutions against these progressive prosecutors, that if they're going to use their time, the taxpayer dollars, all that stuff to go after, not in the interest of justice, but to prosecute their political opponents, then yes, they need to be prosecuted as well, because that's how you finally stop this stuff. Join the conversation. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. If the state of Colorado is going to put Tina Peters in prison for 9 years and allow child rapists to get probation, meanwhile, Jenna Griswold violates a very similar law, gets investigated by a DA and gets let out, that is lawfare. Jenna Griswold should be investigated by Kash Patel. She should be brought up on charges. If you're going to do it to Tina Peters, you do it to Jenna Griswold. That's where I see it. All right, we'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
A new Harvard-Harris poll shows that the overwhelming majority of people say that they support DOJ's mission to cut waste, fraud, and abuse out of the federal government. In fact, according to the poll, 72% polled say they think the government is packed full of waste and abuse and support cutting at least $1 trillion from federal spending. 77% support a full review of all government spending. 60% polled say they support DOJ and feel that Elon Musk is succeeding in making major cuts. 66% say Democrats should join the mission to cut government waste, and 83% say the government should balance the budget. Representative Andy Olgos has introduced an impeachment resolution against a federal judge who blocked President Donald Trump's executive order to remove all gender ideology from federal websites. The article of impeachment says U.S. District Judge John Bates' conduct in the case was so utterly lacking in intellectual honesty and basic integrity that he is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. The Tennessee congressman took to X to make the announcement, saying, "I just formally introduced articles of impeachment against radical LGBTQ activist U.S. District Judge John Bates. His attempt to block President Trump's order to remove web pages containing resources for gender-affirming care from government sites is appalling. At no point in American history," he said, "has the judiciary considered the surgical or chemical castration of healthy children to be compelling or even legitimate health concern, and it shouldn't start now. We must protect our children from predators like Judge Bates." Earlier this month, Bates agreed with a left-leaning physicians group that said President Trump's executive order recognizing only two sexes likely violated federal law when they took down the various web pages. Many are now calling for property taxes to be abolished nationwide after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced in a news conference that he's pushing to end property taxes in Florida. Watch.
Okay, you've paid off the mortgage, you bought the land, you've been taxed many times. It's like, is it your property or not? Just for being on your property, you got to write a check to the government every year. So you're basically paying rent to the government to live on your own property. And our homestead exemption is not strong enough to help these folks. That's the thing. If you buy a home for $300,000 and you know there's certain tax, well then what? 10 years later, they say it's worth $700,000, and so you're paying more. And a lot of people can't afford that. So I think that that's a big issue, and I know we're going to be really looking at ways to bring people relief from that.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
this is so needed on radio. Jim, with a great question, aren't we just waging warfare through the FBI now with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and all that stuff? So if you had progressives utilizing the FBI, waging lawfare under the Biden administration, now it's switched, aren't we just kind of doing the same thing? Gabe with a great text here as well. What's going to stop the left from doing this again when they get power again? It looks like we're just in the middle of a circular firing squad. And my thesis that I'm putting out there is you have to get to a point of mutually assured destruction. So if a DA or an investigator knows that they're engaging in lawfare and going out there and using the power of government to prosecute political opponents, and they know the next time that the other side gets control, it's just going to be waged against them, and there's going to be all these investigations that take place about the work they did, maybe that finally settles things down. I'm willing to take your calls. Prove me wrong. 303-696-1971. Francis Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning, you guys. Hey, Jeff, you posited the question, how do you stop this? You do it from two ends. First of all, you don't do stuff that can be prosecuted. That's the first and surefire way to end lawfare. And the other thing is that if you are wrongfully prosecuted or whatever else, you bring an abuse of process claim against whoever did it and see if you can't prove that. It's going to be tough because you got to prove the underlying case was brought wrongfully. But
Francis, hold on. Before you go on from that, I want to kind of press on some of that. So one, the idea, just don't do something wrong. There's that old joke that on any given day, pretty much every American breaks 7 federal laws. I feel like, and we're talking about people using law to go after political opponents. Okay, so they will find something. They will always find something. There is something you didn't do right years ago for whatever reason. They will find to prosecute. But secondly, if it's an effort to attack a political opponent, you're looking to disrupt oftentimes campaign operations, right? Now I can't win, or I can't, like what they did with Trump. Trump's trying to run for president, and they're making him sit in a Manhattan courtroom on a charge that Hillary Clinton paid a fine for. He's brought up on felonies, okay? That is lawfare to disrupt a political campaign, and then to just go, well, you can file wrongful prosecution years later. At that point, the campaign's been lost. And I'm not talking Donald Trump. I'm talking someone running for Congress, someone running for governor that gets bogged down by this stuff that's done by the left, that's not going to have the power to push back against it like Donald Trump does. Your thoughts?
Well, here's my thoughts, is that all of the different Trump cases, all were different bases, everything. And so, yeah, here's what I think kind of happened in some of these microcosms, is that the documents case was basically self-proving, and Trump had absolutely no one to blame but himself. And so the idea that he was a victim in that documents case is just wrong. The thing with the Manhattan DA case with whatever Bragg and stuff, look, Trump used that to his advantage. He sat there in the courtroom because they required him to go sit there in the courtroom, and he adopted the victim stance completely, and he used it to his advantage. All of these cases are different. I think the Bragg case is entirely different than the documents case. And it's not fair to lump all this stuff together. The idea that, like, you use the example of Jenna Griswold versus Tina Peters, they're completely different.
No,
Tina
they're
Peters
the
did
same law.
absolutely every intention.
Francis, it's the same law that Jenna Griswold helped pass that put Tina Peters behind jail, which was, you may not intend for those passwords to leak online, but you were responsible for them while they were leaked online.
And the investigation came back that Griswold's office was completely stupid in how they did it, and that's it.
But that law, Francis, intent had nothing to do with it. And I'll grant you this, that what Tina Peters was convicted on was much bigger than just the release of the passwords, but it was part of it. And intent has nothing to do with what you get convicted for under that state law that Jenna Griswold actually passed. And the fact that she just, a Democrat DA in Denver looks at it and goes, meh, run for governor, Jenna, while Tina Peters gets 9 years. Come on, that's just crazy.
Well, let's back up a bit on the Jenna Griswold thing too, because maybe this is an example of lawfare that just didn't work right. Because what happened on that is the person who put the spreadsheet together that included the passwords left the office before any of this materialized. They learn about the breach, and Griswold's office doesn't disclose it until 5 days later, but that's after the Republicans exposed it. And so what this seems to me to be is basically kind of like a little bit of a sabotage of Griswold's office to expose how incompetent Griswold is, when she is incompetent.
Well, the facts on that are different. It was someone that regularly checked that website that discovered it and then notified Stephanie Luck of it, who's a state rep. I don't think it was placed there by.
How did they know to check?
Because they do that regularly. They look at those. I guess they downloaded those spreadsheets on a regular basis and notified it. But I don't think it was placed by a staffer within Jenna Griswold's office to try to get her.
Well, it's possible, isn't it? Can't we go conspiracy on that a little bit? Maybe this was just
I kind of do. I do like progressives when they get into conspiracy theories again. Not that you're a progressive, Francis, but I miss when I saw the progressives all of a sudden be like anti-conspiracy theory. I'm like, come on, you guys are the ones that think that the Arctics are going to melt here by 1995. You guys are fun when you're full of conspiracy theories.
All I want to do is point out that, look, there is an answer to this, and the answer is in each individual's self. and if people don't expose themselves to this sort of thing and then don't adopt a victim stance afterwards, they're clean. I mean, they go live to fight another day. Maybe they can't afford it because they have not the resources of Trump, or maybe they can't do it because they fail to adopt a victim stance as easily as Trump, which is exactly what he did. That didn't cost him a nickel to sit there in the courtroom and glower.
Oh,
but, it sure was taken up and run like a torch with everybody. All of the cults, they loved it.
I mean, Francis, individual responsibility, I would appreciate it. But look, at this point, I think the only thing that stops the progressive left from utilizing lawfare is to have it waged against them in an effort on mutually assured destruction so that they get the message, you do this, it's incredibly painful, and hopefully this stuff stops. Francis, great call. Sure appreciate it. Look, if the last couple of years have taught us one thing, it's to value the things we can control, and addressing hair loss is no exception. Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration can reverse years or even decades of hair loss with their simple one-day treatment. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. It works for bald spots, receding hairlines, thinning hair for men, women. If you're younger, wiser, Advanced Hair can address many different patterns of hair loss. Advanced Hair's top-rated physicians, like Dr. Tanya Pauls, have changed tens of thousands of people's lives, and now it's your turn. Schedule a free consultation by calling 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. And to celebrate the new year, get special financing, 250 free hair grafts, and $250 off. Value the things you can control and start regrowing your own natural hair today. That's 720-459-HAIR. Or become inspired with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue. It's been a wild show. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
We have got the text messages blowing up on this.
Yeah, we do.
You're good at responding to that. You're really good. By the way, those text messages come right into the studio here, 720-819-5115. So tomorrow, we can take the conversation to in person, Bill.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to be at IHOP. Come out and join us. We're broadcasting live from IHOP. It's the IHOP that you will find in Greenwood Village. Basically, it's just south of Arapahoe Road and I-25. Go to Arapahoe Road, I-25, go east on Arapahoe, and then south on Clinton Street. If you're coming off of I-25, Clinton is going to be your very first right turn after you start traveling down Arapahoe Road going to the east. Swing down Clinton over on the right-hand side. That's where the IHOP is. So we are south of I-25 and Arapahoe Road on Clinton Street tomorrow morning, 6 to 10, and we have got an amazing breakfast. First of all, IHOP's doing the basic $6 deal. It is always a really good deal. But more importantly, we've got a $7.10 deal that Mike Boyle of The Restaurant Show has hooked you up with. Yeah, we're not taking credit for this one. This is a Mike Boyle thing that he did for us. And for $7.10, you get that ginormous stack of pancakes in your favorite flavor. Strawberry banana, maybe strawberry chocolate, chocolate chip, tres leche, the cinnamon, whatever it is you like. Eat like you were a kid and the calories don't matter. So that'll be $7.10. But if you want to have more of that balanced breakfast and tell mom and maybe the significant other that, yes, you're eating like you should, well, you've got the huge 2 pancake, 2 eggs, your choice of sausage or bacon, plus hash browns as well, only $7.10. There's no way you're going to find a better deal to get your day started tomorrow morning. It's going to be prepared fresh. It'll be made to order, and it'll be done at the IHOP, and we'll entertain you while you hang out with us. Have a little bit of the coffee, hang out. Again, you swing to that coffee shop, you go to one of those fast food places, you're not finding a deal that is made hot to order, delivered to your table. You get a chance to relax, and it's going to cost you less than those other places. So come hang out with us. Jeff Hildebrand, our Cowboy Poet Laureate, is also going to be there with us. We hope to see each and every one of you between 6 and 10 tomorrow. And I'll even take pictures, and I wander around, and I always forget to eat. That's my problem here. I always forget that.
5152 texting. I used to hang out at that same IHOP off of Arapahoe in the 90s.
Hey.
Yes, I did too, because it's open 24 hours.
Yeah.
I went to
come
Creek,
relive that.
so it was nearby. You could do like some late night study sessions.
Yeah, the one that we did, there was one that was in Cherry Creek for a long time. That was where my friends and I, because we'd come
Still
rolling
there?
out of downtown. I don't think it is anymore. I haven't
This
checked in
IHOP
years.
going strong off of I-25 and Arapahoe Road. By the way, Darcy Schoening and Britta Horn, both running for Colorado GOP chairwoman, are going to be swinging by, talking to us, meeting you in person.
That'll be cool.
So, and Mark Baisley said he's going to swing by. We may end up with some other lawmakers. Texted a bunch of them, just said, hey, swing by. This is like a ton of fun.
This is a lot
you
of
can
fun.
tell me to my face how wrong I am.
And you can even throw
Gabe.
pancakes at don't throw pancakes at me. I don't want to have to clean myself up later. Don't do that.
I love Gabe. I
Gabe's
would
wonderful.
love to see Gabe. Gabe texts all the time. Will you
I
please
hope
come
so.
and hang out with us at IHOP tomorrow? It'd be
I
a
hope
ton
so.
of fun, man.
Yeah, I think and Iggy talked about if his schedule allows, he may be down there with us as well. So we'll have to
Dude,
see.
you
But
guys
again, depends on
rock.
if Iggy's schedule allows. We'll see.
All right, so at CPAC, we haven't gotten to this because the debate's been so good, but we'll get to the 9 o'clock hour. Donald Trump's third term was floated by Steve Bannon and others. We've got audio. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. We're off and running. Got an entire hour discussing, should there be a third term for Donald Trump? There's a movement afoot to do so. And I went to the press conference and talked to the folks directly and asked them questions like, how are you going to get Democrats, for instance, to want to come along with this? Because you'd have to amend the Constitution. So how realistic is this? Would you like to see Donald Trump as Caesar or Napoleon in this country? We'll get to that conversation and would love to have you join us by giving us a call at 303-696-1971. Let's check in with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson. Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, Jeff and Billy, thank you very much. 54 and sunny and beautiful in Denver. Outside, expecting a high of 66 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, a man has been sentenced for the murder of DPS employee Sinead Johnson in 2023. Johnson's brother, RJ, says the suspect was someone his sister knew and supported.
Our sister was taken from us. Yeah, she ended up getting murdered by the same person that she helped, Dante Ellis.
Officials say Dante Ellis was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Johnson served as a teacher within DPS for more than 20 years. Federal workers have another chance to tell Elon what they did last week in an email.
What would you say you do here?
The U.S. Office of Personnel Management has moved the Monday night deadline back. Scott Jennings on CNN.
The amount of outrage, melting down, and sort of outpouring of emotion over this ought to tell you everything you need to know. We had a lady on CNN today, a supposed federal worker, who said she was infuriated by getting this email. She had time to go on CNN, but she didn't have time to send a 30-second email saying, well, here's what I was working on last week.
Good point. DJT may eliminate U.S. Africa Command as part of its plan to downsize the Pentagon. Defense officials say it would help eliminate bureaucracy and make it easier for Trump to withdraw U.S. troops out of Africa. A federal judge on Monday blocked the transfer of a dozen transgender women inmates to men's facilities. They're men. They belong with men. The federal inmates filed a lawsuit over concerns over losing access to medical care because the federal government doesn't recognize the identity anymore. More information being released about the arrest of Broncos linebackers coach Michael Wilhoit. He allegedly punched an officer in the face at DIA. The officer reportedly sustained injuries to both knees and his jaw. Wilhoit was later arrested and facing a charge of second-degree assault on a police officer or peace officer. The Broncos are gathering more information. Some members of the Denver City Council want to make new rules for those who rent and use e-bikes and scooters. Councilman Chris Hines says that vendors like Lime and Lyft need to do more to help keep users from riding on the sidewalks and abandoning scooters in places where they block access. Denver Health reported nearly 2,000 injuries from scooter-related accidents last year, and Hines says more should be done to prevent those injuries. Hines plans to work with other council members to come up with a bill that could be voted on later this year. Joy Reid had her last attack on conservatives and white people on Monday, at least on messy NBC.
My show had value, and that, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That what I was doing had value.
Oh, yeah, it had a lot of value. Her buddy Rachel Maddow shared her thoughts.
I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12.
Wow.
And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you.
Good.
But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door.
My computer's freezing
It is
up.
not my-
I need to kill her, and at least not kill her, but her comments. Oh, man, she goes on and on and on. All right, Peppermint Patty.
Even before I met Joy Reid, and I didn't meet her till I started working her, I felt like I kind of knew her. I don't know if you relate to this. I felt like she was kind of talking directly to me through the screen. I know many of you watching at home know exactly what I mean.
Oh, yeah, she was talking to us through the screen. You white people, you're horrible. You're racist. Oh, man, she's gone at least for on TV for now, on TV on MSNBC. Nuggets over the Pacers last night, 125-116. Alex Ovechkin has a chance to close in further on Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record tonight in the NHL. He needs just 13 more goals to break Gretzky's record of 894. 51 in Westminster, 52 in Littleton, and 54 in Denver. Jeff and Billy, they continue.
I just got done walking on the beach at Tulum, Mexico with my buddy Mike from Granelli's Pizza in Castle Rock. I'll have a nice dinner tonight, but then I'll get on a plane tomorrow and I'll fly back so I can be at the IHOP on Wednesday from 6 to 10 with my bros Jeff and Bill. How's that,
Mike?
for dedication?
Oh my goodness, that's amazing, man. That is
So
incredible.
Mike's getting on the plane today, and that's all tomorrow morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
People need to listen to Peter Boyles. There will be a day you get fired. It's
Yep,
as
there is.
certain as death.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
media's interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's a little brutal. Yeah,
every
it
day
is.
you wake up, you're like, hey, another day. That's great. So,
Oh, yeah, I'm surprised every Monday that my code still works in the door. There's always that question of getting up the elevator and going, all right, let's see if it still works. Hey, looks like we're working today. Yeah, every week.
And some reason, Bill and I get to keep going too.
Yeah, I know. I'm as surprised as you are.
So I was at CPAC last week, and Bannon from the stage called for this.
The future of America is MAGA, okay? And the future of MAGA is Donald J. Trump. We want Trump in 28. That's what they can't stand. A man like Trump comes along only once or twice in a country's history, right? We want Trump. We want Trump. We want Trump. We want Trump.
So that was interesting. And then while we're broadcasting, somebody comes by and says, hey, we're going to host a press conference announcing the launch of the third term effort for Donald Trump. So I go to the press conference.
I am Shane Trejo. I am the campaign lead for the third term project. So our stated goal is to ensure that President Trump can get the third term that we believe the public demands that he receive. Representative Andy Ogles of Tennessee has introduced a constitutional amendment that would amend the Constitution to allow President Trump to get a third term. What he's doing already at warp speed with Doge and with making the government more efficient, going to battle with the bureaucracy, the permanent bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., that has lorded over us and strangled the economy for so long. This has been such a scourge for the American people. But Trump is going to battle with them, and he's making incredible strides. But the forces of evil that he's going to war against are not going to go away. They might be dormant for a while, but they're going to be waiting to get right back in there as soon as President Trump is out of office. So we believe that with a third term, he'll be able to remake the government. He'll be able to take a wrecking ball to the bureaucracy, to the different, to the networks that operate behind the bureaucracy, and for generations to come, it will make the necessary change. Stop the deep state, stop the institutional bureaucracy, stop the administrative state, and restore freedom to the people. So that's the idea here that we're pushing with the Third Term Project. Go to thirdtermproject.com for more information.
So this press conference goes on for about 8 minutes. I'm not going to play all of it for you. If you go to x.com/Jeff Hunt, you can watch the entire press conference. So a few things, and the reason I wanted to bring this up, because one, this was a discussion that Bill and I had on the show as to whether or not this was even plausible. And I kind of dismissed it, going, no, of course they're not going to do this. We're kind of original intentists, all that stuff. So a few things. One, when something pops up like this at CPAC, you can dismiss it. You can go, oh, they didn't even rent a room. They stood out in the foyer and did a little press conference, and they just kind of worked the area. And, it's not going to go anywhere. Plenty of little ideas pop up at conservative that never really go anywhere. But then sometimes they do. And I was intrigued by the argument. So, Bill, this is essentially the logic behind the third term.
Yeah.
First, for a majority of our country's history, we did not have the 22nd Amendment, which is what limits a president to 2 terms. Okay? That was not finalized until 1951. So prior to that, this wasn't that controversial. It was generally understood that a president should step down after 2 terms, set by the actions of George Washington. But it wasn't mandated, okay? So first argument, they appeal to history, and they go, it's only relatively recently that we've made this change. And if you want to go back to the original founding of our country, this was not something that was there in our Constitution. Secondly, I found this pretty intriguing. This was an appeal to progressives that believe in, for instance, national popular vote. That if we want a true democracy in this country, why have this restriction? Now, we're not guaranteeing that Donald Trump would have a third term. We're not ensuring that he must have a third term. But why, if we are committed to one person, one vote in a free democracy, would we take it off the table entirely? Third, the actual process of it, they want would allow for no 2 consecutive term or no third consecutive term. So in this case, they want to carve out any option that would provide a third term for Barack Obama, for instance. But if a president wants to serve an additional term that's not consecutive, they should be allowed to do it. So they're willing to allow the 22nd Amendment to stay in place, but they want to modify it so that it would allow a non-consecutive term. So I found those ideas intriguing. Bill, I'll turn over to you, Mr. Debate Captain of Mullen High School, class of 1996? 1990.
Yeah, I'm an old guy.
Class of 1990, to analyze the arguments made by these gentlemen.
I want to know why points 2 and 3 conflict with each other, if they're really such strong points. That's the first thing that jumps out to me. Points 2 and points 3 are diametrically opposed to each other.
Oh, so?
The first one, the point 2 is, let's let the voters decide. Let's let the voter choose. Except they can't choose this guy. That's what 2 and 3 are. We want to have the voters choose. Why shouldn't the voters be allowed if you're the popular vote guy?
Good point.
Why don't we go ahead and do this? But except this guy. This is the one person that we're going to exempt. You can't vote for them. You can vote for anybody else, but just not them. So if 2 is really such a strong point, 3 doesn't exist. So 2 and 3
Great point, Bill.
go against each other.
Very good.
So for me, that shows they're not really serious about this. This, to me, shows that this is nothing more than window dressing and excuse making. The other question I would have, and so 2 and 3 invalidate the premise for me most of the time. But let's go back to number 1. When are we drawing the line on where we get to ignore the Constitution? What's that date? Is there a specific date or time frame that we've decided everything we did after this date is no longer good? We don't honor anything of the Constitution after this particular date. Is there an expiration date on how far we go back? Where is it? Do we go back to the original intent of the Constitution, or do we also lump in the Bill of Rights because they weren't signed? They were signed years apart. How far back do we go? At one point, we can go far enough back in which, I don't know, we could still prevent women from voting. That could be a possibility. So do we go that far back, or do we go all the way back and just get rid of the whole no slavery thing? Where is that line? Because I find it interesting that the argument about, for a long time we didn't do this, let's go back to that date. Okay, now I want you to validate why that date, just prior to the 22nd Amendment, is the one you're going to pick. And you got to convince me other than, I'm picking that because it gets me what I want. I mean, we're parents. You and I are both parents. We've seen that. We've seen that as far as...
We've also been in politics.
Yes, and we've seen that as far as kids.
We know that's ultimately what it's about.
Yeah, and so that's the idea, is convince me with number 1 that it's not just about getting what I want, because 2 and 3 are, I'm getting what I want. I want to have a popular vote except for this guy. Keep that guy out of it. Anybody else can run except for that guy. So again, this is nothing more than, for me, political performative art. But if, again, you think it's such a great idea, run the constitutional amendment. Run it, and let's go through the process.
So there was questions about that. Here were the 3 questions that were essentially 4 questions that were essentially raised during the press conference.
Yeah.
And I raised a few of them. 1, are we saying we don't trust J.D. Vance to continue?
That's a good one.
Right? Because we got to keep Trump
question.
in there. His response was, J.D. Vance is so young, Donald Trump is so unique, let's take every opportunity to take advantage of Donald Trump's leadership as long as we possibly can, then we'll transition into J.D. Vance. So that was the answer there. Number 2 was, have you heard from other Republicans about this? No other Republicans are supporting it. There's 1 member of Congress so far. But again, you can't totally dismiss it because sometimes big ideas start little small. But yes, they admitted they don't have any other Republican support but 1. They were also asked about Democrat support, and that you need 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate to support this. So the answer was, people are going to love Donald Trump so much that they're going to demand their Democrat lawmakers provide a 3rd term. I don't think that's going to happen. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek because if you go to the video, you'll watch, there's an image of Donald Trump as Caesar. Mm-hmm. And so one of the questions was, why are you depicting to conservatives who typically want limited government and separation of powers in a strong legislative branch, the idea of a Caesar? And the answer was mostly to just troll the left.
Yeah.
But the most compelling argument for me, Mr. Thorpe, if we were in a debate today, and I'd love to get your response, is I hear from progressives all the time about pure democracy, national popular vote, that every vote is an important part of someone's voice in the direction of this country, and that the Electoral College and all that other stuff is confusing and has weakened some people's votes and strengthened other people's votes. So why an arbitrary rule to 2 terms? Wouldn't we be advancing democracy by allowing people to choose whomever they want?
That is it's a nice start. The problem is contained in the argument earlier was the thing that they're triumphing, the thing they're pushing forward is to exclude 1 person. So if it truly is about letting the people choose, you wouldn't exclude one person. If you
Very
truly
true.
want it to be vote for anybody, go right ahead. But if it is truly vote for anybody, then should we also, the other question I would
Then
follow
you just
up on
got to
that.
get rid of it.
Yeah, well, the other thing would be, so if you want to, and just say get rid of it, and then it opens that up for everybody, and you let anybody who has run and maybe even served 2 consecutive terms already run, okay, at least we're being intellectually honest with that one, and that's a really interesting idea as far as that goes. And if they want to go for it, go ahead and change the Constitution. That's the part that I see on that one, is if you really think it's that strong, go ahead. The next question I would have is, if we are going to lean into the idea that it's the national popular vote and you should be able to vote for whoever you want, then I have a question about, do we then also invalidate our citizenship rules? Do you not have to be a citizen in the United States in order to run for president as well?
Global government. Everybody gets to choose.
But again, if the core is the popular vote and the people need to be allowed to make the choice, then let's see. And what I would do is I would push on that envelope. How far do we think that envelope goes? How come the people that are proposing this want to exclude Barack Obama specifically? The rule is created to exclude Obama. So for
That's
me,
because any time these conversations pop up, he's the first person they talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And to some other folks' point, maybe we already did have a third Barack Obama term.
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing is, if we think that Donald Trump is so dominant and the American people are going to rise up and demand him, let him run against Obama. If you think that he's that good,
Oh,
let
that
him
would
take
be
the fight.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
in the
take the
world
fight.
that all of life is pro
Yeah.
wrestling.
Oh yeah, I think it's wonderful. And the idea is, I'm not saying that.
DJT versus
And I'm
Barry
not, it'd be
Obama?
interesting. And I'm just saying that if we're really thinking that he's this dominant, that the American people will rise up and they're going to tell their Democrat lawmakers that they have to change it because things are so good under Trump, then why would he not want to run against Obama? Obama's been the shadow that he goes back to all the time. You saw it during the election. He oftentimes would accuse Biden of Obama. He'd use the name wrong.
He did beat Obama.
I know.
his
I don't think
fourth
that's
term.
true at all, but that's okay. But that's the idea is, if the argument is, he's already beaten Biden. He's already beaten Trump. Well, and he's already beaten Obama. Okay, take the fight. Take the fight. Put the name on the card. Put the fight. Make it the main event. Go right ahead. If it's really about this, and the next question you've got, of course, is citizenship. And so the question I've got is for the audience, 303-696-1971, would you advocate for a Donald Trump third term if it was a constitutional amendment? If you had the chance to pull that lever again for a third Trump term, would you choose it? The other question I have is that the guys running this say we need Trump as a leader as long as we can. Tell me you want a monarchy without telling me you want a monarchy. That's the statement I heard there.
Donald
we got to
Trump
have this
is
for as
Napoleon.
long as we can.
Because, Bill, that's the great question there. Because you can try to
Yeah.
dismiss this on the complexity of ever it changing and go,
Yeah.
okay, you got to get 2/3, all that stuff. There's not a single Republican, all that stuff. Okay, all right, yeah, that's a realist approach to this. But if you had the Jeff and Bill magic wand,
oh yes,
and you got a third term for Donald Trump, knowing that J.D. Vance would then serve a, second term as vice president, or whoever it is, however that would work out, would you take it?
Yeah. Would you take it? Would you take that?
Would you take it? Phone lines are starting to light up, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplos Law text line, 720-819-5115. Steve Bannon saying that Donald Trump comes along once every 100 years. You have Washington, you have Lincoln, now you have Trump. It's an arbitrary rule. If we could get more years out of his leadership, America will be better, or not. Give us a call. Join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories.
Representative Andy Olgos has introduced an impeachment resolution against a federal judge who blocked President Donald Trump's executive order to remove all gender ideology from federal websites. The article of impeachment says U.S. District Judge John Bates' conduct in the case was so utterly lacking in intellectual honesty and basic integrity that he is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors. The Tennessee congressman took to X to make the announcement, saying, "I just formally introduced articles of impeachment against radical LGBTQ activist U.S. District Judge John Bates. His attempt to block President Trump's order to remove web pages containing resources for gender-affirming care from government sites is appalling. At no point in American history," he said, "has the judiciary considered the surgical or chemical castration of healthy children to be compelling or even legitimate health concern, and it shouldn't start now. We must protect our children from predators like Judge Bates." Earlier this month, Bates agreed with a left-leaning physicians group that said President Trump's executive order recognizing only two sexes likely violated federal law when they took down the various web pages. Governor Gretchen Whitmer is facing backlash over her decision to hand out more than $145,000 in taxpayer money to her high-ranking cabinet picks while the residents of her state grapple with high inflation and soaring interest rates brought on by the Biden administration. The Michigan governor is now facing questions on whether using taxpayer money to fund the bonuses were justified as the state faces budget constraints. According to records, Whitmer shelled out about $10,000 to each of her 15 cabinet members and department directors as part of a, quote, performance pay that recently expanded to include political appointees. Many are now asking if Whitmer was trying to buy loyalty so she could get her agenda passed, or if she simply wanted to strengthen her influence within the Democrat Party. Many of those that receive the bonuses make more than $200,000 a year. Starbucks plans to lay off 1,100 corporate employees globally as new chairman and CEO Brian Nicole streamlines operations. In a letter to employees released on Monday,
song for Mike Boyle right now. Mike called us from Mexico.
Yeah, and sent pictures.
He's taking pictures and sending them to you?
I mean, he's sending me pictures that look like they're postcards of beaches and stuff. And yeah, but he's coming back for tomorrow. We're going to be at IHOP tomorrow. It's going to be awesome.
So we're doing a live broadcast tomorrow from IHOP off of I-25 in Arapahoe Road. You head east and then south on Clinton. You'll be right there. Just IHOP. Greenwood Village, Arapahoe Road. You'll find it. Actual address is at 710knus.com. But if you want to come hang out, it's a really fun morning. We're going to be there for the entire duration of our show. That's all 4 hours. You don't have to come for 4 hours. You can. You're welcome to. But you can also just grab a cup of coffee. But, Bill, they've set up some really good food for us.
Yeah, do they ever. Okay, they've got this great $6 breakfast deal that's been going on for a while, but they've hooked up our listeners with something special thanks to the hard work of Mike Boyle. Now, Mike has made sure that when you join us tomorrow at IHOP, you are going to get for $7.10 either their huge stack of pancakes, and so calories be damned. Diabetes, who cares? Just have the giant stack of pancakes. Do it like you want to when you were a kid. And the thing is, you can get their classic, just buttermilk pancakes, which are delicious, but you got all the fixings as well. You can go with the double berry. You could go with the strawberry banana, the strawberry and chocolate chip, the chocolate chip, tres leche, cinnamon. There are a whole bunch of options there that can tickle your fancy. So that's for $7.10. Or if you want to pretend like you're an actual adult, well, they've got that too. They've got a meal, $7.10. Get you 2 pancakes, 2 eggs, bacon or sausage, plus the delicious IHOP hash browns. Some of my favorite. I'm absolutely going to grab some of those tomorrow morning. Got to have the hash browns. Can't walk out of there without them. But $7.10. Huge stack of pancakes or that delicious pancake breakfast. There isn't a better deal that you can find tomorrow morning to kick off your day in town anywhere. It's going to be cheaper than you pay at those fast food places, cheaper than you're going to pay going and buying that coffee that you really is just a milkshake. We call it coffee, but you know how it is. But by the time you get that muffin and everything else and they charge you $12 for your coffee, yeah, this is going to be much cheaper. And they'll provide the coffee as well, and we'll provide the entertainment. So come on out. We're there from 6 until 10 tomorrow. It's the IHOP in Greenwood Village. Mike Boyle's going to be there with us. Jeff Hildebrandt, our Cowboy Poet Laureate, is going to be there with us. Jeff's going to be there. I'm going to be there, and hopefully you will too. 6 to 10 tomorrow at the IHOP in Greenwood Village.
Lots of elected officials too. It's going to be a party. And midweek through, it's going to be a little bit colder tomorrow. Come have a party with us.
Yeah, come party
with us. It'll be a ton of fun. Want to get to the phone lines here. Here's what we're discussing this hour. While I was at CPAC, Steve Bannon from the main stage called for Donald Trump to serve in 2028. That would be a third term. That was prohibited by the 22nd Amendment. All right, it's one thing for him to call from the main stage. That happens. Lots of ideas get floated at CPAC. But then there was a press conference held by folks, and they made some interesting arguments. The one that was most compelling to me, because I think it would appeal to progressives who are always running around going, democracy, democracy, pure democracy, national popular road. We hate the Electoral College. Is if we wanted to embrace a pure democracy, why the 22nd Amendment restriction on 2 terms? Because that didn't exist until roughly 1951. Sort of majority of our country, we didn't have this. And yet we put this in. So shouldn't we, if we really want to embrace one vote for one person, why do we have restrictions on who can serve another term? Lots of text messages on this. 5152. I can't stand politician worship. Even Trump, who I voted for and appreciate the things he's doing and has done, people sound idiotic when they resort to chanting Trump, Trump, Trump. Stick to policy, they say. I hated it 2 years ago when the school teachers would be chanting about Barack Obama. We already hate limitless terms for lawmakers who remain in office for decades, 50, 60 years. Let's not do it with the president again. Interesting. Let's go to the phone lines. Jack, Wyoming. Good morning, Jack. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, now, Jack, we're waiving the rule about calling once a week for you because you've got some interesting perspective on this one. So what's on your mind?
Yes, I believe it's analogous with FDR. I think it's the exact same issue. FDR was extended into his presidency for a 3rd and 4th term to prosecute the World War II agenda that he was involved in that was more important to this country than having the limitations on presidential years that they can serve. I think it is absolutely analogous. I think right now what Trump is doing is the same thing. He's trying to save this country, and it's no different than what FDR did. I find it exactly the same thing. What Trump is doing is he's trying to restore the ruling of the founding fathers and, more importantly, the rule of law. And he's in the process of doing that. That should not be interrupted. I think for the benefit of this country, it should be continued. And if he needs to serve a 3rd term for that purpose, I think it's exactly the same as what we gave to FDR. That's all I have. Thank you.
So you think that he's trying to reinstitute the rule of law? Oh, I think Jack left. Okay. Yeah, that's a question I've got as far as the idea of Trump's administration bringing back the rule of law, that's the guy whose company's been found guilty of fraud, the guy that ran a fraudulent charity, the guy that's found liable for sexual assault, the guy that's been liable for fraud, the guy that was convicted in Alvin Bragg's thing, the guy that's the guy that was brought up on charges for retaining classified documents that he didn't have any right to. That's the guy that's been involved in over 3,000 lawsuits, not just accused, but involved in. That's the guy that is coming after the rule of law, the guy that says when someone is saving their country, laws don't apply to them. That's the person you're talking about saving the rule of law. The administration that just said laws don't apply to us. That's saving. That's burning down the village to save the village.
Drive
that's what
forward,
we're doing.
Jim says. What do you think? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. And I want to get away from the likelihood of this happening because it's probably not. The mountain to amend the Constitution is huge. 2/3 support, House and Senate, all that stuff. But not going to happen with Democrats. Give Donald Trump a third term. Okay, that's one thing. But would you take it if you could get it? Would you take a third Donald Trump term if you could get it? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. I think, to Jim's point, I think Jim would. I think Jim absolutely would. He feels like the reform that Donald Trump's doing is on par with winning World War II. And we gave FDR 4 terms, give Trump terms to reform and save this country. Jim would take a third Donald Trump term. Would you? 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Look, do you know a high school student who has a passion for engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. All right, we got full phone lines, Bill. Who should we start with, you think? We go to the top there, Robert,
top,
Denver? Yeah. All right, Robert, Denver, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning, gentlemen. I think the idea of Trump serving a third term sounds great until you actually think about it for 3 or 4 seconds. There's a reason that the amendment limiting presidents to 2 terms was implemented. I think that most of the people in the country saw that having, as Franklin Roosevelt did, pretty much unchecked power, especially when you consider all of the civil rights violations that he committed during the course of his presidency and sending people to St. Elizabeth's Hospital to get around habeas corpus, that sort of thing. They said, nope, we can't do that again. And that was, in my mind anyway, the reason for the amendment. But I'm also of the opinion that every elected office should be term limited. And we can have rational, legitimate discussions about how many terms, those limits would be. But the idea of people like Nancy Pelosi and people like Mitch McConnell and some of these others, Strom Thurmond obviously comes to mind, who never held a real job in their life, and simply suckled off the government teat for, decades, 4 or 5 decades, and who have contributed absolutely nothing to the society in the entire time that they were in office. Just disgusts me.
But Robert, what if the argument, and this came from Steve Bannon, is that you get a figure like Donald Trump once every 100 years in this country. We had it with George Washington. Mm-hmm. We had it with Abraham Lincoln. Look at what he's achieved in just 30 days. Imagine the revolution that could take place in this country with an additional term, because he's going to be done in 4 years. We need to give him an extra 4. Imagine how great America would be. Are you willing to throw out the 22nd Amendment? Look, we didn't get this till 1951. Most of our country, we didn't have this thing. Why not throw it out? Because you could have such a unique figure for another additional 4 years.
Up until FDR, we'd never had a president serve more than 2 terms. Correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Even though there was no constitutional prohibition against it, we'd never had its president serve more than 2 terms.
That's correct.
And that was because the country, by the end of those 2 terms, was ready to start working in a different direction. And so my response to that argument of this is a once-in-a-generation or once-in-a-lifetime figure, okay, until the next one, right?
Well done.
Until the
well
next
done.
once-in-a-generation
Good argument.
figure.
Good response,
and if we
Robert.
bend the law or break the law to accommodate one person just because we agree with his ideology, then there is no law.
Robert, great call.
Nicely
sure,
done,
appreciate
Robert.
it.
Call back again.
303-696-1971. Well, Bill, you want to go to a break
cool.
and then we'll come
Yeah,
back?
yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, and then we'll be able to talk to Richard.
We'll continue this conversation. We do have a phone line open. Not that it's likely to happen because it's a huge mountain to climb, but if you got Donald Trump for a 3rd term, would you take it? 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
the idea floated that America would be better if Donald Trump could serve a third term. Now, there's a big mountain to climb to do that. You'd have to change the 22nd Amendment. The argument being, though, why have this restriction if we're a pure democracy? Right? That's what the left says all the time. National popular vote, one person, one vote. Why just a random restriction that's like, no, 2. You can only serve 2. What about the people's voice out there? And regardless of that, let's say it doesn't happen, but would you take a third term from Donald Trump if you could get it? If you could really change this country, would you take a third term from Donald Trump? Let's go to the phone lines. Richard Littleton. Good morning, Richard. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
I was just going to share that there's a reason for each of these amendments, and as times change, those adoptions come to play. But the problem that we've seen in government, and partly it was discussed earlier with one of the other callers, is that there's an accumulation of power, and the argument against term limits has always been, well, we have these very wise people that really understand the system. Well, the problem is with that wisdom also comes a high inclination for self-preservation and positioning and all the other things. So, and if the U.S. doesn't have enough people, and 350 million people doesn't have enough that we can fill a House and a Senate with highly qualified, well-educated people that can understand the system after going through a short introductory period, then we have a problem with the system. And so this is, as they would say, as a time like this, Trump, I think, is coming in and obviously doing incredible amounts of work. Some people would say damage, some people would say great work, but he's doing an incredible amount in a short period of time. I think he's going to get what he wants done in 4 years. And I also think that if he knew there was another potential 4 years, he wouldn't be moving this fast, or his purposes may be different. But here he knows there's nothing to be left on the table. In 4 years, he's done. And I think that pushes people to do what they can do and what they want to do and what they feel like they're called to do over that period of time.
Oh, that's interesting, Richard. I appreciate it. I hadn't thought about that it's kind of I would say, critique saying, if you think Donald Trump needs more time, why can't he accomplish his goals now? And given what they're doing and all the great success that we've seen, kind of the answer does beg the question about, well, if he's doing such great work now, why do we think he can't accomplish his goals, or his goals too lofty? That's a really interesting one. Now, I got a question for you. What do you think about the idea of them going forward and saying, hey, we've got to do this, we've got to change the Constitution or go to a national popular vote, except in order to do that, we need to exclude, this one guy who's out there, this Barack Obama guy. We got to make sure he can't run. But anybody else that can run, what do you do with that? The fact that the people promoting the idea of Donald Trump running for a third term also are saying, well, we can do it as long as we exclude this one person from also running. What do you think about that?
Clearly, you can't exclude anyone. And while we're not a democracy or a republic, we run on democratic principles. And if one of the jobs of a great leader, as well as somebody that comes from business, and many of the people don't come from business, and that's part of the problem that I see, is we have people that are writing checks that they don't know how to fund them in the back end. They know how to spend money, but they don't know how monetary systems work. So the job of if you're running the country as if you were running a business, part of your job is to build new leaders, to bring in 100 people like J.D. Vance that are running different positions in training and building, so that when you leave, there are other people that can take your place. There should be hundreds or thousands of people that are highly qualified for the next step.
Richard, great call. Thanks
call.
so much. Richard from Littleton. Wow, what a great way to wrap the show.
Yeah, it's a great way to wrap it up.
That was a fun discussion. This is a show where the debate like that takes place. No other debate like that taking place on any other radio show out here. Lots of text messages. 2546, support Trump 100%, but do not support a third term via an amendment. Trump could get a third or fourth term if he helps Vance win in 2028, 2032. Just like Obama got his third term via Biden.
That is interesting. Yeah, the thing for me is that if they think it's such a good idea, why are we not running the constitutional amendment right now? Why not? Why are we going to? Because I have a feeling that when they do this, they're going to try to do something through the law.
State's too powerful.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that if you don't think you can get it through the constitutional amendment, then how confident are you in your ability, or how strong do you think your case is to begin with? If you're looking for the courts to save you and do some sort of thing based on originalism ruling or something, are you really saying that you believe this? Or are you just looking for a way to make it happen? Yeah, it's an interesting question.
Today's show full of debate around Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, Trump's third term. We even get to Zelensky, which I was hoping to get to today. We'll have to talk about that tomorrow. But if you missed any of the debate, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. It was fire, jam-packed phone lines, full text message. It was great. We'll see you tomorrow at IHOP. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. IHOP.